Buffalo Sabres are coming back home up 3-1 in their series with the Bruins. They take games 3 and 4 on the road, and now game 5 is tomorrow night in Buffalo. Puck drop just after 7:30, and we'll get the latest on the Sabres. Paul Hamilton is going to join the show a little bit later on at 6. We did have some notes, though, from this morning. Lindy Ruff did tell the media Tyson Kozak and Jason Zucker are probable for tomorrow, and then Josh Norris is still a possibility. While on the Bruins side of things, Nikita Zadorov has been fined $5,000. That is the maximum allowable fine under the current CBA for his cross-check on Sabres captain Rasmus Dahlin. Tonight, we have just 2 games. Penguins host the Flyers just after 7. Philly will advance with a win tonight. And at 9:30, Vegas is at Utah. The Mammoth hold a 2-1 series lead with that one. For the Bills, they had themselves also a busy weekend, making 10 total selections in this year's NFL draft. For more on that, Sal Caponcio is going to join the show at 4. Sal also has a number of pieces up at our website, WGR550.com, and we can also find it at our website or on the Odyssey app. Bills general manager, Brandon Beane, he joined our morning show today to break down the draft that was. And again, you can find that on the Odyssey app or our website. And then we also got some fifth-year options that are being picked up. Vikings wide receiver Jordan Addison and Bucs defensive lineman Kalijah Cansey. And then over in college football, Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby is checking into a residential treatment program for gambling addiction, and Sorsby is now under investigation by the NCAA after it was discovered Sorsby made thousands of bets on a gambling app. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Here's a steal, pass back, Krebs scores! Possession kept, here's a play in front for Doan, scores! Great pass from the corner to Doan, who taps it in, and the Sabres take a 2-0 lead.
If you're in the playoffs, you come back as a Boston Bruin and playing at home, you should have a lot of juice, and for some reason they didn't.
Sabres want more. Here's Benson holding, taking the shot, scores! It squeaks through Swayman as Benson goes to the net. Sabres with another steal. Byram shot, scores! That is a dart from Byram, and it's a 4-0 Buffalo Sabres walk in the first period.
I mean, our fans have been great. You know, I can't say enough about how well-traveled they were in the last half of the year, and now in a playoff building. You know, I've seen the Blade gang come to town. That's pretty cool. I actually like to play with those guys.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR.
Let's go Buffalo chants in the TD Bank North Garden. That's still what it's called, by the way. I've not really checked nor paid attention. I just know I would like to just call it the Garden. Because, you know, I'm 60 years old and I grew up with the Boston Garden, and this has had a few different corporate names that have incorporated Garden into it. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but anyway, I know I read and I don't feel like I actually heard much. I could see fans on the TV coverage. I was watching the local feed, the MSG feed with Dan and Rob. Just heard a bunch of those highlights. Man, Dan is killing it. Like, good. I'm so happy for him, man. And Rob too. Like to have them. Like Rob obviously has been doing this job longer than Dan has. To be back in the playoffs must be great for them as broadcasters. But opposing fans being heard and showing up in Boston is a pretty foreign concept to me, I got to say. Like, it's normally just not a place that I would ever think you have an opportunity to take over. And, you know, we didn't really hear much of that about Thursday night. Now, it was Thursday night, school night, if you will, for Game 3. Game 4 on a Sunday afternoon, maybe a little more easily accommodatable travel available to you, whatever. It was just so cool to hear that. Yesterday was... I love that this series is only 4 games old. Sabres are up 3-1. Good afternoon, by the way, everybody. Another beautiful day in Buffalo, New York. I'm the Bulldog. Mike is out sick today, and believe me, when I tell you if he could talk, he'd be here. Because these are not days you want to miss. When, we've been coming in here on Mondays in the spring, after the draft, and it's just like, 40 times, and where does this guy fit, and all this other stuff. And we'll get our share of Bill's conversation about the draft in here. In fact, Sal Capaccio will lead off our trio of guests today at 4 p.m. So I certainly plan to spend my time, some of my time, today on what the Bills did over the weekend, Friday into Saturday, with the draft after basically punting on round one on Thursday with 3 trades down that got them entirely out of the first round. But you do this gig. These are days you want to be around. And well, as it turns out, tomorrow is a day that is even more desirable to be around. So Mike's resting his voice because he can barely talk today. I don't know if he could have tried to suck it up and get through today, but probably would have blown it out for tomorrow. And if I'm prioritizing when I want my bud with me, I would say tomorrow at the arena. We're going to be live at the arena. First time we've been at a Sabres game with the show since before the long, cold dark of COVID hit back in 2020. So we're pumped about that, to be back on the scene and see what that all looks like. So anyway, Mike's not here, so you got just me. So what does that usually mean? That usually means more time for you if you're into it. 803-0550 is the number. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about the hockey team, and let's talk about this series. 3-1 through 4 games. So we just a week ago, we were in here reacting to the drama of game 1 and what a rush it was to have this game that you would have felt good about the way they were playing in it. This is game 1 now I'm talking about. Just quickly, I don't want to dwell on this because, well, it was a week ago, and we've got a great, fun new game from yesterday to talk about. Last Sunday, game 1, you liked how the Sabres played, but they were trailing. They were trailing almost the entire game. And it was this furious 4 minutes or so that got them the lead, and ultimately they got that game home and parked safely and took the series lead. And, that's a certain kind of game. And I think, if I had to choose, everyone's different. What do you want out of it? What's the biggest rush? I would tell you that the drama, the uncertainty, the chewing your fingernails down to the nubs game that ends up going your way is the score to beat. The rush of, them finally, scoring the 2 quick goals by Thompson to tie it, and then taking the lead on that Samuelson play, and then the empty netter. Oh my God, what unbelievable, right? Just the drama after the uncertainty and the fear of a loss and all that. That is, to me, a high score to beat. I think second, and they're very much, they're not exactly opposites. They both end with your team winning, so you're going to be happy at the end. A game like yesterday, I think, might be a certain kind of fan's favorite kind of game. And it definitely has its merits. There's no question. A cruise control kind of game. It's not quite 51-3, but it's pretty close to that. I mean, it took them 5 minutes to get on the scoreboard, and then in a few minutes after that, it was 3-0, and you felt pretty good. And then before the period ended, it was 4-0. And the only moment of, I don't even want to say uncertainty, because I think that's almost too strong. The only moment of doubt or, oh no, don't let this happen, for me, would have come at the end of the first period. It doesn't mean anything. It could have meant nothing. It didn't happen. But it's 4-0. Okay, just close out this period 4-0. I don't need Boston getting some life out of a goal here. They are DOA in this game. So don't give them something to take into the locker room and think they can build on, or whatever kind of nonsense that you would hear. It's all cliche stuff, but hockey players subscribe to that stuff. I just did not want them going in there anything but demoralized. The only moment in the entire game, once the Sabres got the lead and built it to 4-0, just put your feet up. There's a minute or two at the end of the first period. Okay, just don't give up a goal here. And they didn't. And then the second period kind of came and went, and Boston beat them in shots, but it really wasn't. It was never in doubt, right? I mean, I guess you could say anytime, once the Sabres went through a whole second period without scoring and building on their 4-0 lead, that at any moment Boston could get that goal, and now maybe they've got some life, and if they get a second one, whatever. I wasn't real worried at all in the second period, and a big part of the reason why, is my favorite. This game could have had maybe 10 contenders for your favorite moment in the game. Yeah, I've got a few that I will talk about maybe even here in this first segment. My favorite moment of this game yesterday is should I know specifically exactly what time of the second period this happened? If it's my favorite moment from the game, I'm sorry. I didn't tape the game. I watched it. I know at some point in the second period, I think maybe midpoint or even later, there's a shift where Byram is just standing there with the puck in his own end. And I don't want to exaggerate. It's not like it was minutes or anything, but there's a few seconds. Like he collects the puck and he's standing like in the face-off circle or around there to the right of Alex Lyon. I know it's the second period because the Sabres are going left to right in the second period, and Byram was standing in the left end. They were defending that end. So he's standing there in the circle. Like he comes out and he's sort of looking like he's going to start a play, but maybe everybody else is changing or whatever, and he just sort of waits. And he's waiting, and no Bruins are coming. And I said out loud, just kill the clock. Just stand there as long as you want. I don't know. What are the Bruins doing? Rob, I think, even said in this moment, I think I probably had a lot of company in this, not that it would be your favorite moment, but you probably noticed it too, if you're paying attention to Dan and Rob like I am. Rob even said, they're losing 4-0. What are you doing? They're just they're just hanging out in the neutral zone like it's a one-goal game, or like they're protecting a lead. Hey, Bruins, it's 4-0. You're about to go down 3-1 in the series. You might want to consider a forecheck. You're just letting Bowen Byram hang out in his own end, like watching the game go by. And I thought that was indicative of a team that had completely pitched it for the day, and of a coach, or at least a philosophy, a coaching staff that couldn't pivot to another kind of game when the scoreboard absolutely dictated. They looked like they were still trying to play the game that they had played successfully in Game 2 and somewhat successfully. They didn't get killed in Game 3, the Bruins. It was a very competitive game. And, close game, tight game, playoff game. This game, they're down 4-0, and they're all just hanging out trying to take away space in the neutral zone. And I'm like, okay, Marco Sturm, good job. You might consider a pivot here. And that's the moment where, this game is over. They're not even trying to do what a team trailing by 4, fighting. It's not quite fighting for your playoff life. 3-1 is dire, but they're not dead if they lose this game yesterday. You could be thinking, but still, I just thought the lack of urgency from the Bruins in that moment, that became my favorite moment of the game, because I thought it was so emblematic of how futile the Bruins felt battling at this point really was. That was absolutely just, okay, look, we're obligated to be out here for the next, 30 minutes or so, if it was around midway through the period. Forgive me again. I don't remember 5 minutes in, 10, 15, whatever. I just know it was the second period, and it was 4-0, and the Bruins just were not at all trying to do anything to change the course of the game. I thought that was really, really telling. I can't know whether Marco Sturm had given them different instructions going out there for the second period down 4-0. I would expect that he would, but I don't know. Maybe he didn't, or maybe they just didn't feel like doing it. But they're just hanging out playing neutral zone hockey in a game that's 4-0, and I just thought it was beautiful. It was such a quit. It was such a quit by the Bruins. And to get that in a playoff game, I have not gone through all the history. I playoffs with the Bruins. I mean, I know that they 9 times, and the Sabres have won 3. It's not like a sterling record. There's probably lopsided scores in there somewhere, but it feels like a very foreign concept to me to go in to Boston Garden and just wreck them in a playoff game. It was very reminiscent of those games that we've talked so much about in 2006 against the Flyers, like the games that ostensibly destroyed the Flyers front office and coaching staff. It took until October of the following year, but eventually everybody got fired when the Sabres did to them early in the regular season in 06-07 what they had done to them in the spring of 06, which is blow them out and make them look like they don't even belong in the NHL circa 2006, 2007. That's what, like, 8-0 in 2001. I think we just passed the anniversary of that last week against the Flyers in an elimination game at home. Like, you just absolutely annihilate them. And that's what, it wasn't 8-0, but it was 6-0. You can be bummed out they gave up the 1 goal. I am just not built to expect them to curb stomp the Bruins in a playoff game, especially on the road. Really, for that matter, anywhere. I liked this matchup. I wanted this matchup. I thought the Sabres were clearly the better team. And yesterday afternoon, I think for the first time really in the series, it absolutely looked like that. The Bruins were just wiped out by midway through the game and just going through the motions. So really, really cool. Like, and that is to circle all the way back to where I started here. It's, kind of the opposite, somewhat the opposite of what you got in game 1, which was right down to the wire almost, and you're losing for most of the game, and the drama and the anxiety and all that. Yesterday was just, you want another beer? You want to go sit on the porch for a while? What do you guys want to? I'm sitting back in my chair away from the microphone on purpose to make this point. Like, that was yesterday. You were just, I don't know, what do you want to do now? I mean, it was so easy. Easy for me to say, wow, do I ever look like a fat pig sitting back like that on the feed? It's a little delayed. Sorry, there's a little self-conscious moment there. Note to self, don't do that again. Just a cruise control game. And those are also, that might be my second favorite kind of game in a high drama playoff type atmosphere. You don't get to know the outcome while you're living through the dramatic come from behind game. But that is always so fulfilling when the check cashes, right? When you actually get the comeback and you've won it and you went through the uncertainty and the fear of the loss and all of that. Like, that is extreme. That's a high. Like, that's a drug. Yesterday was just more like it's very casual. But again, that has its merits. Like, you're not all wound up all afternoon. You just sort of, yeah, this is cool. I can't believe they're just rocking the Bruins like this, just wrecking them in their own building. So cool. Would love to hear your takes, your experiences on the game. I did not go out to watch this game. I just couldn't get there. I thought I watched last Sunday's game in a bar, and I just kind of wanted to be like home base. But I'll bet, I heard, places were obviously packed all up and down in my neighborhood in North Buffalo. So I'm sure it was a scene almost anywhere you were watching this game. But you want to hang out and talk about your experience watching this game yesterday and what you thought about it. I'm here at 803-0550. A very close contender to me for favorite moment of the game was Swayman's exit from the game, and the reason I think I would make this number one if I could have confirmed. Sorry, I need to take a drink. I don't need to blow out my voice with Mike out already with no voice. There's one Boston reporter that I saw assert that the way Swayman left the game was him pulling himself, because it did not happen right after the goal. Look at the time, the time of every. And you know this if you're watching the game closely. It was close, but they score that goal, and then there's a TV timeout right afterward, like maybe within 30 seconds or so of I think it's the 6th goal, and they go to a TV timeout and come back, and Swayman's not in the net anymore, and Korpisalo has gone in. And this one Bruin account said, I think Swayman just pulled himself. Like, he skated over the bench during the TV timeout and said something to Korpisalo, and then Korpisalo started getting his gear on and came in. So it was not directly precipitated by the last goal. Like, the coach didn't see the last goal go in and go, oh, that's it, get Swayman out of there. They kept going. And then I think Swayman came over to the bench. It's possible Sturm said something, but this account from in the building, and there weren't 10 versions of this, only this one. I've looked. I tried to find it because I love the thought of the goalie himself going over going, yeah, I'm done. I don't care what this guy wants me to do. I'm out. You want to get your gear on, right? And then you saw him barking at the bench on his way by. I mean, that's a tough look. He did not talk to the media last night. I don't know if they have made players available yet today. I would imagine they would have skated or had a meeting or something this morning because they'd be flying here for the game tomorrow. So I don't know if there's been any update on that, but I thought it was at least possible that Swayman pulled himself from the game, which is, again, that's to the Sabres' credit. Like, yeah, I'm out. Yelling at his own guys leaving, awesome. So that was a pretty cool part of this. There is word that Zadorov and Arvidsson for Boston are questionable for tomorrow. I don't know what happened to Zadorov, other than him getting tossed from the game. Well, I mean, he got a 5-minute major, and there wasn't 5 minutes left, so he didn't get thrown out, but effectively a major penalty for cross-checking Rasmus Dahlin across the arm. He didn't get both arms. That would be really hard. Ended Zadorov's night. And so I don't know what the story is there. He's not getting suspended. We know that. He got the maximum $5,000 fine, basically for trying to break Rasmus Dahlin's arm, which he very easily could have done. JT Miller of the Rangers did this to Thomas Chabot late in the regular season. It was a forearm. I think Zadorov cross-checked Dahlin up in the bicep area is what it looked like, but snapped his stick in half in the process. And good job, NHL. I imagine if Dahlin had suffered a broken arm, we'd be really upset, obviously, and Zadorov probably would be suspended. But because the action that he took, which clearly was designed to injure Rasmus Dahlin, didn't injure Rasmus Dahlin, he gets a fine instead of a suspension. I'm fine with it. I hope he plays. You know why? Because he sucks. I want him on the ice. I don't want him in the penalty box. I don't want him suspended. The only caveat to that is what he actually did to Dahlin yesterday. Like, I don't want him to hurt anyone. So I guess in that way, maybe it would be better if he just weren't around. But keep him on the ice. Like, I get his fit there. I get where his value is, but mostly I think he is that entire decor, aside from McAvoy, is the reason yesterday afternoon looked like, I almost said last night, looked like such a mismatch. Because their D just is not efficient at moving the puck and skating out of trouble. They just aren't. McAvoy is excellent. He's elite. Zadorov, to me, is kind of a clown show. He's a big, mean, intimidating guy, and that has its value. That is his value. But him on the ice is, I think, way better for you competitively. So I'm in a way relieved. It'll be a lot easier to say once this series gets over with, hopefully tomorrow night, and I don't have to worry about him breaking somebody's arm or leg with some nonsense, because he's a dirtbag, but he's a player I think you can exploit when on the ice, and so for that reason, I hope he plays tomorrow in Game 5. What do you think, man? Your favorite moment from yesterday? Swayman pulling himself, Byram just kind of hanging out in his own zone in the middle of the game. Like, you guys even trying to play anymore? What are we doing here? Super cool. Cruise control, 3-1 series lead. Just love it. Your reactions to anything that I brought up or anything that I have missed here. I mean, it's only one segment. I'm only 20 minutes in. Lots more to be said, hopefully by you. 803-0550 is the phone number, and lines are wide open if you want to get in and talk about yesterday and the series so far. If you're keeping up with Tampa and Montreal, that series is tied 2-2. Good. Keep playing, Tampa and Montreal. I'm not really sure who to root for there yet. Honestly, I think it
changes daily.
It's closer now than it was when the series began. Before the series began, we were like, get Tampa out of the way. Now I'm not positive. Montreal looks pretty scary. Like, that's a super close series, all one-goal games, 3 of them overtime, a late winner last night to avoid overtime for Tampa as they complete a comeback from 2-0 down to win 3-2 and even that series up. I think I read just now we're waiting until Wednesday now again for the next game of that series. Must have building issues. I don't know. So a little bit of a break for Tampa and Montreal again. But I hope that goes 7. More than I want to say I want to see Montreal or Tampa come through. I want them to just take every ounce of flesh off one another that they can before advancing to hopefully meet the Sabres, provided they manage to win one of these 3 games with the 3-1 lead they have. Anyway, 803-0550 is your phone number. Sal Capaccio at 4. We will spend the requisite amount of time on the NFL draft from the weekend. So we got Sale lined up to do that. Joe Yurden, Bleacher Report on the Sabres and the Bruins and this series at 5. And then Paul Hamilton, fresh back from Boston, will join me at 6 to do the same thing. So that's your lineup. Between all that, lots of time for you and me to hang out and talk about this series so far. 803-0550, again, is the number. Mike Schopp is out sick today. I am the Bulldog along with Zach Jones, and you're listening to WGR.
We've been living in sin so long, all the feels are gone. Fella stopped me on the street last night, said everything's alright. Roller coaster, make it through the day upright. It seems your meal ticket is gone, but life goes on. I could never imagine something better. Yeah, right. Now you're cooking on high heat in the middle of the street. Roller coaster, take me to a better time. Let's go! All easily forget how to place your bet. When everyday life gets you down, you gotta steal the crown. Got to own it. Don't bitch and moan about it, please. God forbid you scrape your knees, and it's nothing to sneeze at. Oh, I've told you over and over again. You gotta get both hands around it and make your own plans. Roller coaster, it's taking over. It's about time. Oh, sing your high line on the roller coaster of life. You've got to all choose your timeline with the roller coaster of life. Roller coaster. I want to go down the rabbit hole, down the rabbit hole of life. And now it's about to leave. Oh, roller coaster. Oh, roller coaster.
Sabres with another steal. Byram shot, scores! That is a dart from Byram, and it's a 4-0 Buffalo Sabres walk in the first period. Unbelievable what this team is doing right now against these Bruins.
Dan Dunleavy on the call of the Sabres' fourth goal of 4 in the first period to open a 4-0 lead on the Bruins, a lead they would never relinquish on the way to a 6-1 Game 4 victory yesterday afternoon in Boston. These teams will meet again tomorrow night, 7:30 face-off, or 7:40, more like it, for Game 5. The Sabres with a chance to close out this first-round series on home ice tomorrow with a win. I love that play live. How long was that side of the net open for? Like, it was like a year. The puck got over to Byram, and it's just like, is he coming? What is Swayman? And what happened is, and right after the goal went in, you saw Swayman, like, he looked like he wanted to complain to someone because he had been interfered with. It was his defenseman. His defenseman was at the top of the crease. A defenseman. I don't know who it was. Lowry. Let's pick him. He's big, goofy. Swayman's left pad got caught on his defenseman's leg or his skate, and he could not come over. I don't think he's making that save anyway, frankly, because he was really committed to a play coming from his left. And just so he's down, he goes to get up and shuffle over, and his leg gets caught. The pad gets caught on his teammate, and Byram's just got all day to bury that, and he buries it, and it's 4-0. But, like, live's just like, what happened there? Like, oh, okay, that explains it. He just couldn't get over there. But that shot was that's as long as you get a chance to look at an open net on a play where the goalie is still in the game and trying, as you're going to get. I mean, that was just open forever. Really, really great. 803-0550 is the number. Let's lead things off this segment with Larry. Hi, Larry. Thank you for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, Bulldog. How we doing today?
Good, man.
I'm telling you, I loved watching that game Sunday afternoon. I know it was great for my blood pressure. I mean, Jesus, if every game, the rest of the series, the rest of the playoffs were like that, I seriously doubt it. I would definitely be in a much healthier situation. But it was awesome. I mean, I loved it. I loved the fact, and you kind of alluded to it now, I love the fact that it seemed like almost every goal that Buffalo scored Swayman was complaining, Swayman was whining, Swayman was looking to blame somebody, looking for answers, and I think it was the third goal or fourth goal, it was his own teammate that you just said.
Right.
I don't know if he kicked his pad or interfered with his pad, but it was just great to see. And, I mean, I don't know. For me, it's anytime Boston loses anything, whether it's football, hockey, basketball, it just makes me feel good inside. And I know that's me being petty, but I don't care.
All right. I'm here for it.
At the same time, I had a few comments about the officiating. Now, I don't know if you know, but do they get the same officiating crew every single game for this series, or is it a different crew each game?
I think that rotates. I don't think they leave the same officials in a series. I'm not positive of that, but I'm pretty sure that there. You may get repeats as you go through a series, but I do not think it's like baseball umpires where you're assigned here. You've got this series. I don't think so, but I'm not positive.
Okay, the only reason I bring it up, and I'm not going to complain about the penalties that were called. I mean, some of them were clearly, or the ones that were missed for the Sabres, some of them were clearly tilted towards Boston. But what I've noticed, and I kind of look back at Game 2, I've noticed that it seems like a lot more of the Sabres centers are getting kicked out of the faceoff dot, and a lot of the times it's not because they're moving, it's because the Boston player is moving. And sometimes it seems like Sabres player is getting kicked out. I know I looked back, again, just kind of quickly at Game 2, and I counted 8 times that Sabres centers were kicked out of the faceoff dot, and only 1 time was a Bruin kicked out of the faceoff dot. And again, more than half of those were the Bruin player switching early with the stick. It's just kind of...
I haven't noticed, but okay, yeah.
But other than that, and again, I don't want to complain about the officiating. The series has been fun. I'm hoping Game 5 goes the same way, and I hope Boston is ready, because I know that arena is going to be. If everybody thought Game 1 was loud,
I know
they ain't seen anything yet.
Thanks, Larry.
Game 5.
Thank you, Larry. I don't know where you go from 11 already, which is what the amps seem to have been set at after the first 2 games here. But an opportunity to eliminate the Bruins should get you to another level if it's physically possible. Within all that, the Bruins complaining. The Bruins, it's so delicious that this is happening. And I don't know if you have to be above a certain age to really appreciate it. I mean, I don't know, maybe any fan in their 20s who didn't grow up being haunted by the big bad Bruins or the Broad Street Bullies or the Flyers or whatever, like these bigger, meaner, physical teams with reputations that they absolutely earned and backed up. Like that's my childhood and even young adulthood to an extent is being plowed under by these teams that played that way. I mean, the sport has changed. The league has changed. It's not like that anymore. But the Bruins coming into this series, again, their coach, I think he was just fishing for relief from officials because they intended to be physical and clutch and grab, and he's just trying to buy a call or a lack of a call. But we're the bigger, stronger, more physical team, or whatever the quote was from Marco Sturm. Forgive me, I was looking at elk in Montana the day he said that. But I know he said something. We're the bigger, stronger team. We're going to be physical, and you better be ready, basically. And at every turn, it feels like what I've got is the Bruins. Oh, they're in the crease. They're touching our goalie. Shut up already. You're the Boston Bruins. You're supposed to be tougher than this. You're supposed to be the big bad Bruins. And again, I know that's a bygone era. That's my childhood, but the coach went down that road before the puck even dropped in this series. And all I'm getting is, they're getting away with this. They're getting away with that. They're getting away with it. And then I've got Zadorov snapping his stick in half on our captain's left arm or right arm or whatever arm it was. It's just great to see them melting down. And I don't really know what to expect. You're going to hear a lot here. I'm going to talk to Joe Yurden, who's covering this series. I'm going to talk to Paul Hamilton in a couple of hours, who's, of course, covering this series for us here at WGR. And, I'm sure we'll hear a lot about pride and that the Bruins will be desperate. They'll have nothing to lose and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm not sure I want to buy it. I think that team looked cooked yesterday, and it would not surprise me if they, at this moment, I know they're hockey players and they're competitive and you don't get to this level without being hyper-competitive, blah, 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 blah. They looked like they knew they were cooked, and I would not be surprised if at least a few guys on that team are kind of like, what's the point here? What's the point? I just don't think they can. I don't think they can get past this team. They could win a game, I guess, and then maybe it would get interesting. You got to go back into Boston, and that's Game 6, and you lose that, and now it's Game 7, and you know the script. I don't know. I'm bracing for like an onslaught of don't sleep on the Bruins. They're proud. They're going to be heard from, and I don't know. They looked at halfway. I already made this point about the second period last night. Nobody forechecking, just hanging out in the neutral zone, letting Bowen Byram stand with the puck in his own end for God knows how long. Eventually, he moved it. Nobody came and made him. He could have just kept standing there. That is, to me, that's a team that's DOA. So I don't know if they can get some life support and get back on it tomorrow, but they it's at least, to me, I can't say it. I can't say likely that they're cooked because it's still hockey. Who knows? Last night is like the outlier of this series. It's a game that was not really competitive. The other three games have been very tight and wrought with tension. So I don't want to assume too much, but my mind is very much on that team just wants to get out of here. AJ is up next. Hi, AJ. Thanks for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, Chris. How are you today?
Great. Thank you.
All right. So here's the question. And seeing what I am a jinx for the team this year. I don't believe in jinxes, but here's the case. So Game 1, I stopped watching, went to bed. They were losing. I wake up to find that they win. Okay.
That's
Game
pretty
2.
good.
I went to Game 2.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Game 3, started watched the first 2 periods. Every game, the Sabres have a Keystone Cop-ish play where I'm like, oh, God, no. I closed my computer, headed to bed, looked at the score when I was falling asleep. Oh, my God, they came back to win. Yesterday, I was out delivering a painting. So I didn't even get a chance to look at updates. And my wife apparently was driving with me. She was updating and I didn't know this. And she was like, "Don't look." I was like, "Why? What is it?" And I look. It's 6-0. I'm like, okay. And then I literally watched the last 3 minutes where the Bruins scored.
All right, well, AJ, I'm sorry, but I think by the power invested in me by the listenership of WGR Sports Radio 550 and its parent company, Odyssey, I have to forbid you from watching this game tomorrow. Those are the rules.
Thank you. And the best part is I even have an opportunity to go.
Oh. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I am going to live under a rock for a while. And, I'll take this bullet. I might not even pay attention to any game for the next,
I think a new series, maybe you can start anew and see what happens.
We will see how that goes.
Yeah, all right.
Depending on tomorrow night.
Lovely, AJ. Great call. Thank you.
No problem. I'll talk to you.
That's rich. All right. Yeah. We all gotta do our part. So that's AJ's part. I'm barring him from certainly being in I don't want to see you down there tomorrow, AJ. I'm gonna be there. I'll be checking. Don't you? And I'll have a view of the doors. Do not. under any circumstances, come near that building tomorrow. Or watch. There. 803-0550 is the number. Thank you for the calls. We'll keep going on that front after a quick break. Sal Capaccio will shift gears, get into some Bills draft from the weekend. That's coming up at the top of the hour. But lots and lots of hockey as we go. Joe Yerdon on the Sabres and Bruins. Likewise, Paul Hamilton, all coming up in the back end of today's show. Mike is out sick today. I'm the Bulldog, and this is WGR. Financing included. Let's go Buffalo chants in the TD Bank North Garden. That's still what it's called, by the way. I've not really checked nor paid attention. I just know I would like to just call it the Garden. Because, I'm 60 years old and I grew up with the Boston Garden, and this has had a few different corporate names that have incorporated Garden into it. I'm not sure what the name of it is, but anyway, I know I read and I don't feel like I actually heard much. I could see fans on the TV coverage. I was watching the local feed, the MSG feed with Dan and Rob. Just heard a bunch of those highlights. Man, Dan is killing it. Like, I'm so happy for him, man. And Rob too. Like to have them, like, Rob obviously has been doing this job longer than Dan has. To be back in the playoffs must be great for them as broadcasters. But opposing fans being heard and showing up in Boston is a pretty foreign concept to me, I got to say. Like, it's normally just not a place that I would ever think you have an opportunity to take over. And, we didn't really hear much of that about Thursday night. Now, it was Thursday night, school night, if you will, for Game 3. Game 4 on a Sunday afternoon, maybe a little more easily accommodatable travel available to you, whatever. It was just so cool to hear that. Yesterday was... I love that this series is only 4 games old. Sabres are up 3-1. Good afternoon, by the way, everybody. Another beautiful day in Buffalo, New York. I'm the Bulldog. Mike is out sick today, and believe me, when I tell you, if he could talk, he'd be here. Because these are not days you want to miss. When, we've been coming in here on Mondays in the spring, after the draft, and it's just like, 40 times, and where does this guy fit, and all this other stuff. And we'll get our share of Bill's conversation about the draft in here. In fact, Sal Capaccio will lead off our trio of guests today at 4 p.m. So I certainly plan to spend my time, some of my time, today on what the Bills did over the weekend, Friday into Saturday, with the draft after basically punting on round 1 on Thursday with 3 trades down that got them entirely out of the first round. But you do this gig. These are days you want to be around. And well, as it turns out, tomorrow is a day that is even more desirable to be around. So Mike's resting his voice because he can barely talk today. I don't know if he could have tried to suck it up and get through today, but probably would have blown it out for tomorrow. And if I'm prioritizing when I want my bud with me, I would say tomorrow at the arena. We're going to be live at the arena. First time we've been at a Sabres game with the show since before the long, cold dark of COVID hit back in 2020. So we're pumped about that, to be back on the scene and see what that all looks like. So anyway, Mike's not here, so you got just me. So what does that usually mean? That usually means more time for you if you're into it. 803-0550 is the number. And yeah, I mean, let's talk about the hockey team, and let's talk about this series. 3-1 through 4 games. So we just a week ago, we were in here reacting to the drama of game 1 and what a rush it was to have this game that you would have felt good about the way they were playing in it. This is game 1 now I'm talking about. Just quickly, I don't want to dwell on this because, well, it was a week ago, and we've got a great, fun new game from yesterday to talk about. Last Sunday, game 1, you liked how the Sabres played, but they were trailing. They were trailing almost the entire game. And it was this furious 4 minutes or so that got them the lead, and ultimately they got that game home and parked safely and took the series lead. And, that's a certain kind of game. And I think, if I had to choose, everyone's different. What do you want out of it? What's the biggest rush? I would tell you that the drama, the uncertainty, the chewing your fingernails down to the nubs game that ends up going your way is the score to beat. The rush of, them finally. Thanks for being with us on a beautiful Monday afternoon. On the heels of it got nice yesterday. I played golf at 8 a.m, and it was foggy and kind of chilly and for a couple of hours. But then the sun came out, and by puck drop, even well before puck drop, it was a beautiful day to watch the Sabres curb stomp the Bruins, enjoy some porch beers, and just revel in the glory of this hockey team having such an easy time in a playoff game in Boston. It was really, really incredible. 803-0550 is the number here. We'll keep going on the phones. For now, Bobby is first up this segment. Hi, Bobby. Thanks for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, Bulldog. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome. Thank you for calling.
Good afternoon. I just wanted to talk about how the Sabres definitely should really consider Brandon Tuck back next year because he's been awesome this whole playoff series. He's top 10 in points right now. He's doing really good. I just think it's a risk dependent on Halinas or Ostlund taking over his spot next year. I think it's a big risk. I know there's a lot of people on Twitter, the analytic nerds, trying to think that he's going to fall off, but
well, he is going to fall off at some point. You don't have to call people names. I mean, he's 30 years old in May. He's going to, if you're signing him to an 8-year contract, you are buying probably 3 years of regret. I mean, that's just the reality.
He'll probably be good for the next 4 to 5 years. And if you're signed to a 7-year deal, that's only 2 years left of him falling off.
Okay, well, why do you think you're only going to sign him to a 7-year deal, not an 8-year deal? Because it's better for your argument?
No, I thought you would get signed to a 7-year deal.
Okay, well, that doesn't make any sense, Bobby. I mean, I don't. You want to trim a year off it? Maybe you're right. Maybe only sign for 5 years. I mean, I don't really know. But look. Should the Sabres keep Alex Tuch? Absolutely. Okay, what's it going to cost? Probably a lot. A real lot. More than $10 million a year for 8 years. And how many of those years are you going to be extracting value from that contract? That's the question you got to ask yourself. And I think I almost unequivocally want them to do it and keep him, but I don't think it's easy. I'm not assuming Helenius Ostlund's already here and producing. He's on my team next year. And maybe Helenius is too, and maybe it's exactly in Tuck's spot. I don't know. But if they don't find a way to sign Tuck and keep Tuck, they will have that money to spend on someone else that doesn't have to be an unproven rookie. So it's not as easy as just pay it, I think. Got to take a break. Sal Capaccio on the Bills draft right after this on WGR. scoring the 2 quick goals by Thompson to tie it and then taking the lead on that Sanderson play and then the empty net. Like, oh my God, what unbelievable, right? Just the drama after the uncertainty and like the fear of a loss and all that. That is, to me, a high score to beat. I think second, and they're very much, I don't know, they're not exactly opposites. They both end with your team winning, so you're going to be happy at the end. A game like yesterday, I think, might be a certain kind of fan's favorite kind of game. And it definitely has its merits. There's no question. Like a cruise control kind of game. It's not quite 51-3, but like it's pretty close to that. I mean, it took them 5 minutes to get on the scoreboard, and then in a few minutes after that, it was 3-0, and you felt pretty good. And then before the period ended, it was 4-0. And the only moment of, I don't even want to say uncertainty, because that's almost too strong. The only moment of like doubt or, oh no, don't let this happen, for me, would have come at the end of the first period. It doesn't mean anything. It could have meant nothing. It didn't happen. But like it's 4-0. Like, okay, just close out this period 4-0. I don't need Boston getting some life out of a goal here. They are DOA in this game. So don't give them something to take into the locker room and think they can build on or whatever kind of nonsense that you would hear. It's all cliche stuff, but hockey players subscribe to that stuff. I just did not want them going in there anything but demoralized. Like the only moment in the entire game, once the Sabres got the lead and built it to 4-0, just like put your feet up. There's like a minute or two at the end of the first period. Okay, just don't give up a goal here. And they didn't. And then the second period kind of came and went, and Boston beat them in shots, but it really wasn't. It was never in doubt, right? I mean, I guess you could say anytime, once the Sabres went through a whole second period without scoring and building on their 4-0 lead, that at any moment Boston could get that goal, and now maybe they've got some life, and if they get a second one, whatever. I wasn't real worried at all in the second period, and a big part of the reason why, is my favorite. This game could have had maybe 10 contenders for your favorite moment in the game. Yeah, I've got a few that I will talk about maybe even here in this first segment. My favorite moment of this game yesterday is should I know specifically exactly what time of the second period this happened? If it's my favorite moment from the game, I'm sorry. I didn't tape the game. I watched it. I know at some point in the second period, I think maybe midpoint or even later, there's a shift where Byram is just standing there with the puck in his own end. And I don't want to exaggerate. It's not like it was minutes or anything, but there's a few seconds. Like he collects the puck and he's standing like in the face-off circle or around there to the right of Alex Lyon. I know it's the second period because the Sabres are going left to right in the second period, and Byram was standing in the left end. They were defending that end. So he's standing there in the circle. Like he comes out and he's sort of looking like he's going to start a play, but maybe everybody else is changing or whatever, and he just sort of waits. And he's waiting, and no Bruins are coming. And I said out loud, just kill the clock. Just stand there as long as you want. I don't know. What are the Bruins doing? Rob, I think, even said in this moment, I think I probably had a lot of company in this, not that it would be your favorite moment, but you probably noticed it too if you're paying attention to Dan and Rob like I am. Rob even said, they're losing 4-0. What are you doing? They're just all they're just hanging out in the neutral zone like it's a one-goal game, or like they're protecting a lead. Hey, Bruins, it's 4-0. You're about to go down 3-1 in the series. You might want to consider a forecheck.
The Buffalo Sabres are coming up home 3-1 in their series with the Bruins. They take games 3 and 4 on the road, and now game 5 is tomorrow night in Buffalo. Puck drop just after 7:30, and we'll get the latest on the Sabres. Paul Hamilton is going to join the show a little bit later on this afternoon at 6. We do have some notes from this morning. Lindy Ruff did tell the media that Tyson Kozak and Jason Zucker are probable for tomorrow. Josh Norris is a possibility. While on the Bruin side of things, Nikita Zadorov has been fined $5,000, the maximum allowable fine under the current CBA for his cross-check on Rasmus Dahlin. In the NHL tonight, it is just 2 games. Penguins host the Flyers just after 7. Philadelphia does advance tonight with a win. And at 9:30, Vegas is at Utah. The Mammoth hold a 2-1 series lead in that one. For the Bills, they also had themselves a busy weekend. They make 10 total selections in this year's NFL draft. We'll have more on the draft and the busy weekend that was when Sal Capaccio does join the show next. Sal also has a number of pieces up at our website, WGR550.com, including some of the reported UDFAs that have been signing with the Bills. And then also at our website and on the Odyssey app, Bills General Manager Brandon Beane as he joined our morning show earlier today. And then in the world of college football, Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby is checking into a residential treatment program for gambling addiction. Sorsby is under investigation by the NCAA after it was discovered that Sorsby made thousands of bets on a gambling app. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
All right, firing it right up here. Sal Capaccio is waiting on the Western hotline to pour over everything the Bills did after not doing anything on Thursday night. A couple of guys on Friday and then filled it out on Saturday, and they've got a whole stable full of new rookies that they drafted, and there's undrafted free agents that are trickling in as well. We're going to pour over as much of that as we can here when we say hi to Sal Capaccio. Good afternoon, Sal. How are you today?
I'm good, Bulldog. How are you?
I'm fantastic. I do want to – obviously, we have a lot to cover. But I was thinking of you while I was talking about the Open today and thinking about yesterday's game and how it was such a put your feet up kind of cruise control kind of game. I hope I'm not overstating that. It just felt like they were never in danger in this game. And what kind of game do you prefer? Like just juxtaposing yesterday's game 4 against game 1, which was, fingernails and like, oh my God, and the drama and the late comeback and oh my God, we won, and the exhilaration that comes with that, versus sitting in the room with your friends with your feet up for 3 hours going like, hey, do you want another beer? Everything all right over there? Because I know you've mentioned how 51-3 was your right, and that the party that was, and that's a home game and it's a Super Bowl, it's a different thing. But I don't know. What do you prefer? Do you prefer the drama or do you prefer the feet up?
Well, listen, if you guarantee me the win with the drama, I think I would take that, right? Because it's so exhilarating, but you can't. So in the moment, I would say it this way. I was at Brightsmith for the watch party on Sunday, yesterday, and it was great. It was fantastic, and everybody there was having a great time. And at some point, maybe it might have been 4-0, whatever the point was, I tweeted, this reminds me, now I wrote Sunday night, I meant Monday night, but I said, this reminds me of the Monday night the Bills went to Foxborough and just completely demolished the Patriots to exercise all the demons. And it was just so awesome to be in that moment. So I would say actually, I think I prefer that to know we're on cruise control here, and it's so cool, and it's just a party. Now, there's something to be said about winning late and overtime wins, something like that, right? Mm-hmm. I get it. But just to know with your friends, with people you love and surrounding you that love the team for 2 hours, that you're beating your rival like that, there's nothing like it.
This Patriot game you're referring to is the Belichick through the phone game?
Yes. Yeah. And unfortunately, I wasn't there. That was it wasn't the COVID year. It was the year after that. It was the COVID year. It was the COVID year. It was 2020. It had to be because we didn't travel that year.
It was the breakthrough year. Yeah.
Yes, that's right. So we were here in Buffalo. We were doing the games remotely. But I remember watching it. But it was so exhilarating knowing like, oh my God, you knew they were going to just, like I said, exercise the demons. But that's what I got yesterday out of it. And there's always, I guess the difference would be, though, you still have to get to one more to close out the series. Now, if it were a closeout game, it would be even different.
Yes.
It wasn't.
Yes.
So you still have the little bit of that trepidation about celebrating or just leaning all into it, I guess.
Right. I think 0-1, they beat the Flyers 8-0 in an elimination game at home. And that was glorious. Yeah, because that's you're right. The series isn't over. It's 3-1, a loss tomorrow, and we'll be pretty nervous, I think, going into Game 6 if we get there. So that's a very important distinction. All right, onward here. We've got football to talk about, Sal. I know we already talked about them not doing anything on Thursday and trading down 3 times until they were finally out of the round. From there, it felt like Friday night was maybe underwhelming for a lot of fans, just judging by what the chatter was like and the reviews seemed like on social media. But maybe they redeemed themselves on Saturday. I mean, what do you think in totality of all these picks they made?
Yeah, redeem is an interesting word because if you take it from a standpoint of, wow, they really didn't do it, or they really weren't impressive or anything like that, I think that's a good word. I think the team was calculated in what they did going into this draft. My preferred outcome was to trade down. That's what they did. I think that going, for the last month and a half, I said, I think the team would like to trade down. I just didn't know they'd find a dance partner. Well, lo and behold, Bulldog, they found 3 of them, right? Right. It kept going down and down and down. And, look, I think, to me, what I wrote at WGR550.com after the draft, my thought overall on that was I called it the upside down draft. Now, with apologies to Stranger Things, that had nothing to do with that, with the upside down for those who watch it. For this upside down, what I meant was normally in a draft, you figure your first couple picks are going to be guys that are going to walk onto your team, have a role right away, could make an impact, but these are guys that are going to play for you. And then later on, you kind of fill in the cracks and the depth pieces and all that. I kind of feel like the Bills did it in reverse order this year, but it wasn't because of them not knowing what they were doing. It was just because that's the way the depth was for the draft and how their roster kind of matched with that. What I mean is, I think T.J. Parker is going to play, but he's not going to start over Bradley Chubb or Greg Rousseau, but he's a 3-down player. He can play in this league. He's going to be in the rotation. I think Davison Igbinosun, IGB, can play as the third corner, but he's the third corner. There's only 2 corners, really, that start on the outside, but he'll be able to kind of, be a rotational guy. And then all of a sudden you have, wait a minute, could Jude Bowery actually win a starting guard spot? Now they're going to start him at tackle, but sure, he actually will have a chance to compete. Skylar Bell certainly is going to compete for a role right away as a wide receiver on this team. Caleb Elarms-Orr is going to compete for a role as a starting inside linebacker. Jalen Kilgore, I think, is going to be on the field a lot. I think those 4 players, especially the last 3, Bell, Elarms-Orr, and Kilgore, absolutely have a chance to play right away.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I think working backwards, because we spend so much time on receiver, and I want to save that for last. I'm intrigued by the Kilgore pick. Like I think someone who it feels like just reading what you've written about him already, Sal, and how the Bills have talked about him might be. We know how good Taron Johnson was for so long here, and an important part of those defenses, and really was like. The main reason that they played nickel all the time is that they had a guy that was so good and valuable that they wanted him on the field in place of a third linebacker. I feel like Kilgore, see, I'm focused on the receiver. Mm-hmm. Kilgore has a chance to maybe even improve on that because of his versatility.
Yeah, you're right. Listen, when they drafted him, I like to read what Lance Zierlein says about these guys at NFL.com and where he projects them. He had him as a second-round pick. Dane Brugler, the Beast, in his publication had it as a third-round pick. I'm like, man, this is kind of wild. Here's the Bills getting this guy in the 5th round. Well, why is that? Like, why would a guy fall like that? And, in my experience, and this has happened for many years before with other players, teams sometimes shy away from a guy who doesn't have a true position. Well, where do we put him? Do you put him at safety? Do you put him at nickel? When's he going to – is he outside, inside? All these kinds of things. And, we got to train him these different spots. Whereas – other teams like the Bills or, in this case, I'll get to them, may say, no, we really like that. And look we know Jim Leonard told us back in his introductory press conference, he loves working with guys who, quote, don't fit into a box. This is the ultimate don't fit into a box guy. He is the chess piece that Jim Leonard needs in his defense. I think this guy fits exactly what the Bills want, and they're going to have a real good plan for him. And you're right. They could put him as a nickel, a big nickel. He's kind of a traditional big nickel that even Sean McDermott would have. but he can play dime in a extra safety role. He can run with tight ends. He's not going to play outside corner, but anything in the middle of the field he can do.
Yeah, I'm into that. I mean, you know, look, I don't want to say this player's name because this player does not athletically project like that. But I loved Emin Worry, positionless guy.
Yeah,
like just get me an athlete, and you know he had that incredible combine, and then got drafted where he got drafted, and even with the incredible combine, he lasted longer and still had an immediate impact. So anybody that is that sort of idea, I'm here for. So I'm excited about him. How about the linebacker, Elarms Orr? Does he have a chance? He should have a chance to play right away too, right?
I think he does, but I'm going to be less on him and his opportunity there because I think, this, I've said I believe they like Dorian Williams more than most people believe, right? I think they believe Dorian Williams can be a starting linebacker, but I don't think that's a certainty. He's going to have to earn it. And Elarms Orr is going to come in here as a fourth-round pick. That's a guy you're going to have to put on your team. He's making the team, and usually those guys aren't just right away special teams guys. They can provide a role for you. So let's remember, the Bills are going to this new defense where sometimes, let's remember, they're going to have three linebackers on the field. That's a Mike linebacker, a Will linebacker, and a strong linebacker, right? A weak side, a middle guy, and a strong guy. So I think, in however you want to parse all of that, two inside guys, but maybe Dorian Williams becomes a little bit more of your strong guy in certain sets. And maybe he's a little bit more on the field as your weak side guy, and you could just kind of do a lot of things here. So, yes, I think he's going to have an opportunity to play. I still would put Dorian Williams ahead of him on the depth chart. But you cannot discount a fourth-round linebacker coming in on a brand-new defense with a new defensive scheme to not, give an opportunity to play. I think he absolutely will have that. He's a sideline-to-sideline guy. He's fast. He can track down ball carriers. Might be a little bit of a kind of hesitation, like at the next level of, getting to a spot quick enough. But that's kind of like, we talk about with Dorian. Sometimes Dorian gets to somewhere too quick, right? And he wants to just run with his hair on fire, right? So you kind of got it. You're going to have to kind of work to see what fits best next to Terrell Bernard here.
This has probably come up, but while we're on the linebackers and we're talking about the fourth-round pick linebacker, Elarms Orr here, how well do you feel like – I know we don't know this, and a lot of this will get hashed out once we get into things, especially once we get to training camp. What kind of fit do you think Bernard is for this Jim Leonhard defense?
Well, I've always felt that Bernard was more of a 3-4 inside guy than a 4-3 middle guy, and that's what they're running. But let's remember, again, this isn't a true 3-4 in a traditional sense. There's going to be, different ways to go about it. But I think the one thing I think that's going to help Terrell Bernard a lot in this defense, he's not going to have to take on so many guards and centers and, big guys up the middle. He's going to have a much kind of different role to be able to take angles a little bit better, to get off blocks a little bit easier, to not have to take on blocks. So I think from that standpoint, this defense will really help him. But Terrell Bernard, if Terrell Bernard was bigger, he'd be a prototypical, great, perfect middle linebacker in a 4-3. He's smaller, and it hurts him. Both in the sense of it hurts him to be able to play like that all the time, and he's gotten hurt because of it. So I think simply Bulldog, by the wear and tear being less in his body, I think it'll help him.
Sal Capaccio on the West Her hotline here, pouring over the weekend that was for the Bills in the 2026 NFL Draft. Okay, Skylar Bell, the receiver. The receiver train, I don't know, we're maybe hoping for higher, but still, fourth-round pick. And this is a very experienced guy, a little older, right? 24 already. I don't want to make too big a deal out of that, but tell me what you know about Skylar Bell.
He's about a year older than Keon Coleman, by the way. You think about that, right? I mean, he's already, like you said, 24. He played 5 years of college football. I'm going to tell you, as soon as he was drafted, and we all knew kind of the names, like there was the Bell brothers, people would call him, Chris Bell, Skylar Bell. And then when he was drafted, we were kind of looking around, and Andy Young from Spectrum News was sitting next to me, and all of a sudden I saw him pull up a highlight, and it was against Syracuse. I go, wait a minute. Now I know. I said, that's the guy that torched Syracuse. I watched that game. He was unbelievable. Sure enough, he was. He had 11 catches for 108 yards in that game. And then Brandon Beane said in the post-draft presser, if you want to just really watch some tape, watch him against Syracuse last year, which hurt me, but I agree. It was incredible. And that's why I really noticed the kid. He is the only wide receiver in all of college football last year to finish top 3 in receptions, yards, and touchdowns. Pretty amazing. His testing is really good. Physically, he's fast. Brandon said this morning to Jeremy, he's like speed like Khalil Shakir, right? He's not getting down the field like, he's not a Xavier Worthy running down the field, but he's fast. He can get down the field. Great body control. Here's the issue of why I think he dropped. Because when you look at that, you say, so you're saying all this stuff. Why did he last until the fourth round? Well, I think the reason is because he started at Wisconsin for 3 years. He was not very productive at Wisconsin. So he went down a level, and then he was super productive. And I think that scares teams off, right? You could see how they would go, well, you know what? Like when the competition got lesser, he got better. But he wasn't as good against the higher competition. I don't think that's unfair, Bulldog. I think it's a fair way to look at it. But I would also tell you, I think some guys just take longer to develop and understand what their specific role is and how they need to win. And for him to play college football for 5 years and to be at the age he is and as productive as he is, I don't think that has to mean that he just couldn't do it against higher competition. I think it just might mean he didn't do it at that time against higher competition.
Right. How do you see him earning playing time? Like where does he fit on the field? How much has been said about that?
This is a bit of the challenge because he has not played special teams in college. And I know people hate hearing this, but I'm going to say it. If you're going to make an NFL roster as a fifth or even fourth wide receiver, generally, you have to be able to play special teams. You got to find a role. It's a waste of a roster spot generally to have a young guy, I think, particularly to be one of your top, a bottom roster guy and not play. Now, does he have to be a bottom roster guy? No, he could be the 2 or 3 guy. He walks in and he does that. I think he's going to play right away. I do think he's going to help. I think he understands the game. He's already to a level where nuances, route running, he has a lot of experience. I think he's on this team. I think he's one of the main wide receivers. They'll figure that piece out as they go, but it is the challenge. Even Brandon Beane did say there was debates in the draft room about it. Like, well, how much could we use him if he's not actually getting time? Like what does that look like here? So those are real things they have to think about.
So we started this conversation, at least talking about the prospects anyway, with the first of their 2 fifth-round picks. Before we go over the top guys, because that'll probably swallow the rest of the time if I start now, anything about Zane Durant, Toriano Pride Jr., Tommy Doman Jr., or Armaj Reed Adams that we want to get on the air here?
Well, the first thing I'll say is Zane Durant, defensive tackle at Penn State. I think it's interesting the Bills did not go for a much bigger, true nose tackle type of guy. I had Caden McDonald mocked to them. I really thought it was a good fit still at 35. It didn't happen. And they didn't get anybody like that through the draft. In fact, he's another undersized guy, you can call him, 6'1", 287. But he wins being low and being, with leverage and things like that. And I just think the Bills have given us an indication of what they want to do. Today, with Jeremy, Brandon Beane said, if they rolled the ball out today, Deion Walker would be the nose tackle. You and I are same wave on this, which is fine. He can play that position, but I'd rather have him somewhere else doing things he might be able to do better, right? But let's see. This is their plan. I'm interested to see where this plan comes from. The kid himself, though, Zane Durant, good football player, productive. He knows how to penetrate, get in the backfield, things like that. The only other guy I do want to talk about is the punter. I mean, it was the worst kept secret. I think we all said it every time we talk about the draft. They're going to draft a punter. They're going to draft a punter. They need a punter. They got to reset the position. Mitch Wishnowsky did a nice job coming in last year. He's still on the roster, but they got to have a long-term solution. Well, Tommy Doman is the long-term solution. They did a lot of work on punters, Bulldog. This isn't just a let's grab a punter. Like, they really went to work on these guys and who was the best fit in Buffalo, the new stadium, everything. And Jeff Rogers, their special teams coordinator, had a lot to do with that. They Zoom call with these guys. Brandon talked about how they literally did a lot of the timing and toe to step and kick and all these things. Well, what I think you should know about him as a Bills fan is, what's very important is he also was a kickoff specialist in college.
Okay.
And with Tyler Bass recovering from surgery and missing a whole year, that could be really critical for the Bills next year. Maybe you have to take some load off him at some point. You want to just keep a lighter load in camp or something like that. The other part about it is he played at Michigan for 4 years before Florida. He grew up in Detroit. He's kicked in cold weather. He's punted in cold weather. So I just think those things are important.
Excellent. Back to the Durant, the defensive tackle. I don't know if it was this morning with Jeremy on WGR or over the weekend at a media appearance, but didn't Beane say that Dwayne Carter is bulking up, and so is Landon Jackson? Not so much for Landon Jackson to play nose tackle, but Carter was a defensive tackle to begin with, so maybe that's an idea there.
That is correct. I would say definitely more Carter than Jackson if it came to playing the nose, but you're right. One thing was clarified, so everybody knows, In this new defense, Landon Jackson will be a down lineman with his hand down. If you want to call him an end, that's fine. I will call him right now a defensive tackle. He will not be on the edge. The edges are your stand-up guys. That is Bradley Chubb. That is now TJ Parker. That is Greg Rousseau. That's Javon Solomon will be a stand-up guy. Michael Hoyt when he comes back. The down guys are going to be Ed Oliver, Dwayne Carter, TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, and now Zane Durant. And yes, I think what he said was Landon has really bulked up. So has Dwayne Carter, and he thinks Dwayne Carter has a chance to play the nose.
So on the top two picks then, the two second-round picks, they traded back into the second round to get the corner, Igbeneghem and TJ Parker. The thing about Parker that maybe freaked me out at the moment he was picked is that his athletic profile reads so similarly to other edge rushers, ends that they've had here that have not really smashed. And I think I had some hope that they might get, with the new coordinator here and Jim Leonard running a different system, that maybe we'd get undersized, speed, bendy guy like a Cassius Howell with his short arms. And I was hoping to maybe see them try something that it feels like they haven't tried before, which I recognize is unfair to TJ Parker as a prospect because it's not really commenting at all on what he might be capable of. It's just merely observing that he's got, he's a similar height and athletic profile as other edge guys that they've had, right? He almost reads like Bradley Chubb on paper, and they've just brought Bradley Chubb in. So I guess that's the only thing about Parker that I would say that, and his last name is Parker, and now I got to get a jersey. What are your thoughts on their first pick?
I mean, you and everybody else, me too. I thought if you're going to draft a edge guy, especially early, it was a bendy, explosive guy. The Bills have clearly given an indication and kind of told us by all their operations this offseason that's not the kind of edge guy they need in this defense. They went out and signed Bradley Chubb and then got a guy, as you said, it reads like him. I mean, Bulldog, Brandon Beane even said he's basically Bradley Chubb. Like, that's the comp he gave. This is the player they want. When I said earlier, like, okay, upside down draft, you didn't get your starter right away, but he's going to play. This is a guy they feel very comfortable playing three downs. That's the difference. It's not that we need an edge guy they did not want a situational pass rusher. And I think some of those guys you talk about, whether it's Cassius Howell, whoever else, really those guys are kind of situational pass rushers. The Bills felt we have to have a guy that we can be comfortable putting on the field on three downs to close up against the run, to still get to the quarterback. Does he have that explosiveness? Is he going to get 12 sacks? No, probably not. But he can still get to the quarterback, but he also is going to be a really good run defender. You know the thing about Bradley Chubb, everybody told me after he was signed when I asked him, really good run defender, right? I think this entire offseason, we've been thinking about stopping the run. And when we do, we think middle. I think stopping the run for them also has to do with the edges. Look how many times Joey Bosa got beat last year. They want to be better at funneling everything inside with their edge guys, and TJ Parker is one of those guys they feel they can do that.
And he's one of these guys, maybe it's a little similar to Deion Walker, although Deion Walker, there was an injury that caused his stock to drop 1 year over the next, and it turned out his draft year, he was a fourth-round pick and might have been much higher. Parker is another one of these guys, right? His 24 was maybe off the charts, I think I read. 25, everybody on that defense, it was an uneven year. So you might be looking at a guy that got dinged for a bad year in his draft year, and maybe there's more similarity to the player he was in 24 than 25.
Yeah, and let's remember, though, Clemson had a defensive coordinator change last year. So that probably impacted, how they used him, what they did. He recognized it. By the way, he's a very mature, thoughtful young man. Already married. His wife was at the press conference. She's an elite athlete. She's a volleyball player at Clemson. His dad is a military dad in the Army. The guy walked into the media room, walked around. I've never had this happen before. He walked around the media room and shook everybody's hand and asked us our name when he came in. Like, this is a very thoughtful young man. I asked him about his college quarterback getting drafted, Cade Klubnik, went to the Jets, gave an awesome response about how no more practice jerseys, I'm going to run through you. And then he stopped. He said he's super happy for him and said all the right things. So I think that mattered as much to the Bills as anything here about a guy who has a really high football IQ and character that they know they can come in and play right away.
Is there anything I'm leaving not buttoned up here? Is there anything on undrafted free agents you need to share with us?
Real quick, Jermaine Burton. Brandon Bean did confirm today.
Yes.
Brandon Bean did confirm today that Jermaine Burton is going to come to rookie minicamp. This is a young man who has all the talent in the world. Drafted by the Bengals, early draft pick a couple of years ago, but a lot of maturity issues, a lot of bad decision making. Hasn't been in the league, was suspended, waived. The Bills are going to give him a chance here. And look, I would say this: if he can put his maturity issues behind him, if he can make better decisions, and there's been some really rough ones, he can be a guy that you can dream about maybe really helping this team.
Mm-hmm.
But I would temper expectations because those things a lot of times come with a lot of hope, and hey, as much as we like him, can we trust him? Can we do this? So let's see where that goes. Also today, I just wrote about it at WGR550.com. Brandon Bean did confirm today to Jeremy that, they took some calls, teams called them, I should say, on Keon Coleman or inquired about him during the offseason, but he said we shut those down, and our intention for him to be here, and we've hit the reset button, and I just think that's interesting to know.
Very much so. Thanks for squeezing that in, Sal. Thanks for fitting us in, and we'll talk again very soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. You're going to be at the game. You're going to be in the arena. Is that what you said earlier?
We're going to be in, I don't know where. We are not. The press box is full apparently. So we're getting we're getting a pass to get in the building. We're going to be in the building. I don't think they come and have security escort you out when it's game time. But we don't have a seat. You know what I mean? We don't. I got no ticket. And normally that would be, okay, I'll just go grab a spare seat in the press box, but I'm not being given access to that. So I don't know. I mean, me and Mike might just be wandering around the arena because I'm inclined to want to stay tomorrow. When 20 years ago when they were in the playoffs, I had to run home because my kids were like 4 and 2. I got nothing but time now, Daddy. I'm going to be in that rink. I don't want to leave. So, I don't know. I'm going to post up somewhere.
If you knew where you're going to be set up tomorrow, if you guys are going to be.
We are going to be on the 100 level near the windows that face the plaza.
Love it. Love it. Okay, buddy. Well, it's going to be awesome.
All right.
It's going to be awesome. Enjoy it. All right. Thanks a lot. I'll talk to you.
All right. I'm going to come sit on your lap during the game. Is that okay?
You got it.
Let's go. Okay. I can Max sit on my lap? No. Okay. This is getting awkward now. Thanks. Sal Capaccio on the Western Hotline. His appearances are brought to you by New York's only outlet liquor. When you need to stock up, it's the place to buy a case. What's your outlet? I want to get back to talking about the hockey, but if you got anything on the draft, Sal and I flipped a bunch of lids open there. If you want to dive into any of them, please do feel free. 803-0550 is the number. That's it. Mike's off today. He's sick. Hopefully he'll be back tomorrow for this big return to the arena we've got. We've not done a show at a Sabres game since COVID. So it's been a while. So we're really looking forward to getting in there tomorrow and being a part of the whole scene. 803-0550 is the number if you would like to join me. Lines are wide open. Joe Yurden coming up at 5, Paul at 6, all on the Sabres. I am the Bulldog, and this is WGR. You're just letting Bowen Byram hang out in his own end, watching the game go by. And I thought that was indicative of a team that had completely pitched it for the day and of a coach, or at least a philosophy, a coaching staff that couldn't pivot to another kind of game when the scoreboard absolutely dictated. They looked like they were still trying to play the game that they had played successfully in Game 2 and somewhat successfully. They didn't get killed in Game 3, the Bruins. It was a very competitive game. And, close game, tight game, playoff game. This game, they're down 4-0, and they're all just hanging out trying to take away space in the neutral zone. And I'm like, okay, Marco Sturm, good job. You might consider a pivot here. And that's the moment where, like, this game is over. Like, they're not even trying to do what a team trailing by 4, fighting. It's not quite fighting for your playoff life. I mean, 3-1 is dire, but they're not dead if they lose this game yesterday. You could be thinking, but still, I just thought the lack of urgency from the Bruins in that moment, that became my favorite moment of the game, because I thought it was so emblematic of how futile the Bruins felt battling at this point really was. That was absolutely just, okay, look, we're obligated to be out here for the next, 30 minutes or so, if it was around midway through the period. Forgive me again. I don't remember 5 minutes in, 10, 15, whatever. I just know it was the second period, and it was 4-0, and the Bruins just were not at all trying to do anything to change the course of the game. I thought that was really, really telling. I can't know whether Marco Sturm had given them different instructions going out there for the second period down 4-0. I would expect that he would, but I don't know. Maybe he didn't, or maybe they just didn't feel like doing it. But they're just hanging out playing neutral zone hockey in a game that's 4-0, and I just thought it was beautiful. It was such a quit. It was just such a quit by the Bruins. And to get that in a playoff game, I have not gone through all the history playoffs with the Bruins. I mean, I know that they 9 times, and the Sabres have won 3. It's not like a sterling record. There's probably lopsided scores in there somewhere, but it feels like a very foreign concept to me to go in to Boston Garden and just wreck them in a playoff game. It was very reminiscent of those games that we've talked so much about in 2006 against the Flyers, like the games that ostensibly destroyed the Flyers front office and coaching staff. It took until October of the following year, but eventually everybody got fired when the Sabres did to them early in the regular season in 06-07 what they had done to them in the spring of 06, which is blow them out and make them look like they don't even belong in the NHL circa 2006-2007. That's what, like, 8-0 in 2001. I think we just passed the anniversary of that last week against the Flyers in an elimination game at home. Like, you just absolutely annihilate them. And that's what, it wasn't 8-0, but it was 6-0. You can be bummed out they gave up the 1 goal. I am just not built to expect them to curb stomp the Bruins in a playoff game, especially on the road. Really, for that matter, anywhere. I liked this matchup. I wanted this matchup. I thought the Sabres were clearly the better team. And yesterday afternoon, I think for the first time really in the series, it absolutely looked like that. The Bruins were just wiped out by midway through the game and just going through the motions. So really, really cool. Like, and that is to circle all the way back to where I started here. It's
Sabres are back home following taking both games 3 and 4 on the road, and now they lead their series with the Bruins 3-1. Game 5 is tomorrow night in Buffalo. Puck drop is just after 7:30, and we'll get the latest on the Sabres. Paul Hamilton does join the show a little bit later on this afternoon at 6 o'clock. Some other notes from this morning. Lindy Ruff did tell the media Tyson Kozak and Jason Zucker, they're probable for tomorrow. Josh Norris is a possibility. And then on the Bruins side of things, Nikita Zadorov has been fined $5,000. That is the maximum allowed fine under the current CBA for his cross-check yesterday on Sabres captain Rasmus Dahlin. We do have 2 games tonight. Penguins host the Flyers just after 7 o'clock. Philly will advance with a win tonight. And then at 9:30, Vegas is at Utah. The Mammoth hold a 2-1 series lead in that one. For the Bills, they also had themselves a busy weekend. 10 total selections in this year's NFL draft. Sal Capaccio has more on that with a number of pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. And then also on the website and the Odyssey app, Bills general manager Brandon Beane. He joined our morning show earlier today, so you can check that out again, at the Odyssey app or our website, WGR550.com. And then Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby is checking into a residential treatment program for a gambling addiction. Sorsby is under investigation by the NCAA after it was discovered that Sorsby made thousands of bets on a gambling app. That's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
We have a extremely high competitive group, and we all have a standard that we all carry ourselves to, and it wasn't met, so that was just emotion. And again, I know that it's moved on now, and we have a job to do going into Buffalo. Yeah, you definitely pick and choose times that, especially a goalie, can show emotion, but at the same time, again, we win as a team and we lose as a team, and everyone in here has a standard that we know we're capable of, and I think that's what really is the underlying cause here. And again, we know we have a job to do. We know we can compete at an extremely high level, and that's what we're going to do.
Bruins, I'm just going to say rattled netminder Jeremy Swayman this morning. So this is, he didn't speak after the game last night. Put $5 in the jar. He didn't speak after the game yesterday afternoon. Maybe pulled himself out of the game at 6-0. Certainly looked to be barking at his teammates. We win and lose as a team. Yeah, that sounds rich coming from the guy that may have pulled the chute himself. I don't blame him. I mean, his team was not helping him, but usually the goalie waits until the coach decides it's over. And it seems, at least by one account, that he was not called to the bench by the coach. He went over there and basically told Korpisalo, get your stuff on, I'm done. And then yelled at some guys on his own team and then went to the locker room. And here he is today. We win and lose as a team. I mean, he's in a difficult spot. He obviously boiled over at his own teammates, but walking that back now with the win and lose as a team thing is tough. That's an excellent player that really was, I guess still is. I mean, the series ain't over. It's 3-1. Sabres host Game 5 tomorrow night at KeyBank Center. He was, to me, the hope that the Bruins, he was a difference maker for Boston. And that, a goalie playing out of his head is a way that you can win a series as an underdog. So Swayman was, to me, to be respected coming in and still is. He's still a threat. But I think the whole thing is cracking underneath them here. They're complaining about officiating, and they're complaining about people poking at Swayman, and he's yelling at his teammates, and just nothing but complaining out of the Bruins. The big bad Bruins, the big more physical Bruins are, they become whiny. But I guess what happens when you're getting your ass kicked, which is certainly what happened yesterday. I would not use that phrasing about any of the other two wins Buffalo has in the series to be up 3-1. They were very, very tight competitive games. Yesterday was a waltz, and kind of incredible at that. 803-0550 is the phone number if you'd like to get in on the proceedings today, which is what Vincent has done. Hi, Vincent. Thank you for calling. You're on the air here on WGR.
Hey, shoot, Bulldog. How you guys doing? First-time caller. I'm just calling in to ask what you guys think about either Lyon or Luukkonen.
What do you think?
I think Lyon, we should go with Lyon this time, but I just wonder what it does to Luukkonen's confidence to where he won't be starting in goal for over 2 games.
Well, it probably isn't great. Thanks, Vincent. It's probably not great for Luukkonen, but, I mean, he's a professional goaltender. This happens until you're established, well, as someone like Swayman, who can pick and choose, apparently, when he's going to come in and out of games, which is what he may have done yesterday during the third period, if he indeed did remove himself from the game. It was his idea. Luukkonen is not some, absolutely entrenched number one goalie. Are the circumstances tough for him? Yes, they absolutely are. Paul said it a lot when we were talking about what to do in goal heading into Game 3 after Luukkonen was pulled in Game 2, and whether or not that, it's one bad period. He's stopped, a number of breakaways early in the series, and is he being unfairly punished? Let's say for 100-footer going in, which is really, really bad, by the way, but it's also fluky and lucky and not to me indicative of, you can't trust this guy. But I didn't like any of the goals on was it last Tuesday, Game 2. Let me walk that back a little. The power play goal that followed the 100-footer was, was a good deflection. It's a hard goal to blame the goalie on. The other three were all plays I really, especially the 100-footer. Oh my God. But the first goal of the game, we went over and over it during the week last week leading up to Thursday in Game 3. I didn't like goal 1 in Game 2 at all by Luukkonen. I know it's a guy in alone, but he's got Samuelsson kind of draped all over him, and the puck is on edge, and he's on his backhand. He's got one hand on the stick. The chances of that player, Arvidsson, executing anything other than what he ended up doing, which was shoveling a backhander at Luukkonen, were very low. And I thought Luukkonen was not prepared for that eventuality. So that, to me, was a miss. The 100-footer speaks for itself. Again, it's fluky and lucky, but it's also bad. You give a goal from center ice. There's no way that's a good goal. And then the one right at the beginning of the third period was bad as well. So, I'm going a long way here. To me, unquestionably, Lyon keeps playing. He's given up one goal in each of these games. It took them until the 59th minute of this game yesterday to get a goal on him at all. And yes, his teammates have got the lion's share to do with that. They need to be taken out right now. Just
let it sit with you. Let it marinate. Like fine wine.
Anyway, I knew I was. Right. Anyway, I'm staying with Lyon for now. And look, Luukkonen is a pro, and I'm sure just like Lyon was staying ready while Luukkonen was taking his turn to run with it as the quote unquote number one goalie for the Sabres, starting back-to-back playoff games. I'm sure he'll be ready if he's needed. And I would anticipate if you get clear, maybe not even if you get clear of this series. Who knows? There's still the potential for 3 more games in this series. All I'm saying is he will probably play again. The longer the Sabres keep playing, the more likely I think that becomes. And I have no question that he'll be ready. Now, will he have not been in game action for a while? Well, yeah, that's a concern. But who knows? Maybe a scenario like presented itself in Game 2 for Lyon, who hadn't played in a really long time, will present itself. Like if Lyon stumbles and it's bad enough and Ruff is thinking, you know what, next game we're probably going to go to Luukkonen, and it's early enough in the preceding game, then you put Luukkonen in to get some reps, for a third period or the back half of a third period or whatever, if a game gets away from you. If it doesn't, then you're gonna ride with Lyon. That's it. I don't think it's even a discussion at this point. I mean, it would be stunning if off of those 2 games they changed. Even for a team that has been very consistent and somewhat boastful of the way they've handled their 2, their goal. Well, I'll include all 3 guys here. Ruff has made the point. They've gotten significant contributions from all 3 of the goalies. So, they might be more likely to make a switch at what I guess I would say, for lack of a better way to put it, an unorthodox time, which is what it would be going into a Game 5 after Lyon has allowed 1 goal in each of the starts he's had. And I think there's very little chance it happens. But I wouldn't worry about Luukkonen being ready when tapped. I mean, that's the goalie life. You stay sharp and be ready to go, because anything could happen at any moment. So I'm not concerned about that, and I don't think it's really a decision at all. for the game tomorrow. Thanks for the call. 803-0550 is the number. Joe Yurden, Bleacher Report, coming your way at the top of the hour. He's been covering this series, so we'll talk with him about what he's observed, and then Paul Hamilton at 6 o'clock will join me as well to do more of the same. Mike is out sick today, along with Zach Jones. I am the Bulldog, and this is WGR. Cruising along here on a sunny, warm Monday. It's not going to be quite as nice tomorrow, which is a bummer because there's a hockey game, which means there will be thousands of people hanging out outside the arena. There will be tens of thousands of people inside the arena enjoying the game and hopefully a series-clinching win for the Sabres who have a 3-1 lead in their first-round series with the Boston Bruins. But thousands of people partied in the plaza, watch party at Canal Side, should be a scene. And, boy, the weather today would have been, chef's, even yesterday, but beautiful, beautiful couple of days we've had here. It's going to be a disaster tomorrow, but there's just some rain early in the day and just going to be a little bit cooler than it is currently outside right now. Couple of things I want to mention here. Early in the show, maybe first hour, we were taking calls from Sabres fans, and a gentleman got through and was talking about Tuck and the potential of him signing. And I got a little ornery with the guy because he's making fun of the nerds who are worried about Tuck's play dropping off, which I think is a completely valid concern, whether you're a nerd or not. I mean, it's just a reality. He's going to be 30. And I said to the guy, 8-year contract. He said, well, maybe they'll just sign him for 7. I was like, well, why would they do that? Like, why would Tuck agree to that? If he can get 8, he'll get 8. It's an extra $10 or $11 million at the end of the line here. Like, that's how it works. That's why it's there. Someone on Twitter has pointed out to me that once the new league year rolls around, it goes back to 7 years, which is correct. I would say, so there is a scenario where if they get past July 1st with Tuck, which I guess is realistic enough, especially if they go all the way to the finals, because, that would only leave, there's only going to be like a couple of weeks there to get something done. And it's possible, I guess, that they might want Tuck to go see what the market is for him. I think that's a little crazy, because I think the market for him will be explosive in free agency. He's one of the best players on one of the best teams in the league this year. And if he hits the open market, someone's going to give him every bit of the $10+ million or even more than that that he's seeking. So I doubt there'd be like a come back to me scenario. But either way, what is pointed out to me on Twitter is that if they get to July 1st without a new contract for Tuck, then the 8th year is gone. What usually happens, what I would predict is likely to happen if they re-sign Tuck, is that that deadline is good for everybody. It's a way that the Sabres can get Tuck more money. It might buffer the annual average value a little bit. Again, that 8th year, it's an advantage to be able to offer that to the player, and so that can, keep the annual value of the contract down a little. And I guess I'm saying, by bringing that up that way, that if they get past July 1st, I would expect him to be gone. I would think there'll be enough time for them to figure that out between the end of the season, whenever that is, even if it's really, really late, and July 1st. And if they don't get that 8th year done by July 1st, I'm going to expect that Tuck will walk. Break time, Joe Yerdon on the Sabres and the Bruins after this on WGR.
The Buffalo Sabres had themselves a nice little trip down to Boston. They win both games 3 and 4 on the road and now lead the series with the Bruins 3-1 with Game 5 tomorrow night in Buffalo. Puck drop just after 7:30, and we'll get the latest on the Sabres. Paul Hamilton joining the show in just about an hour at 6. Some notes, though, from this morning. Lindy Ruff did tell the media Tyson Kozak and Jason Zucker, they're probable for tomorrow. Josh Norris is a possibility. While on the Bruins side of things, Nikita Zadorov has been fined $5,000, the maximum allowable fine under the current CBA for his cross-check on Rasmus Dahlin. Around the rest of the league, there are just 2 games tonight. Penguins host the Flyers just after 7. Philadelphia will advance with a win tonight, and then at 9:30, Vegas is at Utah. The Mammoth hold a 2-1 series lead. For the Bills, a busy weekend for them as well. They made 10 total selections in this year's NFL draft. And for more on that, Sal Capaccio does have a number of pieces up at our website, WGR550.com, and also on the website and the Odyssey app. Bills general manager Brandon Beane, he joined our morning show earlier today to break down the draft that was. And then Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby is checking into a residential treatment program for gambling addiction. Sorsby is under investigation by the NCAA after it was discovered Sorsby made thousands of bets on a gambling app. That's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog.
Here's a steal, pass back, Krebs scores! Possession kept, here's a play in front for Doan, scores! Great pass from the corner to Doan, who taps it in, and the Sabres take a 2-0 lead.
If you're in the playoffs, you come back as a Boston Bruin and playing at home, you should have a lot of juice, and for some reason they didn't.
Sabres want more. Here's Benson holding, taking the shot, scores! It squeaks through Swayman as Benson goes to the net. Sabres with another steal. Byram shot, scores! That is a dart from Byram, and it's a 4-0 Buffalo Sabres walk in the first period.
I mean, our fans have been great. I can't say enough about how well-traveled they were in the last half of the year and now in a playoff building. I've seen the Blade gang come to town. That's pretty cool. I actually like to play with those guys.
It's Mike Schopp and the Bulldog on WGR.
Something tells me if Lindy Ruff really wants that to happen, the Blade gang will be up for it. It would be nuts not to. Welcome back in here. I am the Bulldog. Mike Schopp is out sick today, reveling in a 6-1 beatdown of the Bruins on the heels of a Game 3 win to give the Sabres a 3-1 series lead heading home for Game 5 tomorrow night. I am the Bulldog. Glad to welcome back on the West Her Hotline our buddy Joe Yerdon, covers the NHL and the Sabres for Bleacher Report. Joe, what's going on this beautiful Monday?
Oh, it's still recovering after driving back to Buffalo after yesterday's game. Quite a weekend in Boston, I got to say.
All right. Well, are there details I need to know about off the air, or is there more you can tell our audience now? Because you've whetted their appetite, I think.
Well, no, it was just like I don't know. It had been years since I'd been in Boston, and it was nice to be back there and seeing the Garden again, and getting to watch a couple of playoff games, which had been quite a few years since I've done that in Boston too. I covered a couple of Stanley Cup finals there. So, but yeah, the first time doing this with covering the Sabres, and boy, oh boy, I gotta tell you, it was something else seeing the fans turning out, Sabres fans turning out.
I know in Boston, Joe, like I feel like, it's a long time since they've been in the playoffs. All right. So, I know I did not expect. You see shots, any away game, usually they're going to find on MSG, like this couple of Sabres fans or whatever. I was really surprised pleasantly by what seemed like a pretty big turnout of Sabres fans in that building.
Yeah, it gets to 4-0 in Game 4, and we started hearing the Swayman chants coming from the upper reaches, and I'm down, like our seat in the press hall, which is way upstairs. We were down in like the lower right corner, basically. But I could hear it coming from to the left of me, in the upstairs levels. And I'm looking at, was one of those things where like the old college hockey instinct went off on me to look for a visitors section, just to see an entire section of people in blue and gold, and I didn't see it, and it was just scattered blue and gold jerseys throughout there, and the "Let's Go Buffalo" chant started up real big in the third period after it gets to 6-0, and I'm just kind of like, did everybody just like move together because everybody else left and headed for the bars when the game gets out of hand like that? I mean, it was an impressive turnout. It was really something. And then the players saluting the fans that were there after the game on road ice is something else.
That is a move, yeah, for sure. So, Joe, to my ears here, I mean, I know what Marco Sturm said before the series began. We're the bigger, more physical team, and that's how we're going to play. And like it's all gamesmanship. I think probably trying to keep the officials off them for touchy fouls, interference type fouls or whatever. But to my ears here, it feels like the Bruins are doing all of the complaining. You're too near my goalie, and it's so weird to see these roles the way that they are with the Sabres. So just being capable of dominating the Bruins the way they did, certainly on the scoreboard, if not to some extent in this series, physically too. I feel like maybe the Bruins thought they were going to be able to push the Sabres around, and they were wrong.
Yeah, I think there was definitely part of the mindset for Boston was, we're going to be able to intimidate these guys, and we're going to be able to push them around because, you look at the Sabres lineup and you don't see a guy that sticks out and says like, well, keep your head on a swivel when this guy's on the ice because he's gonna, he could really ruin your day. You do that with Boston. There's a few guys that could do that. Janot is one of them. Mm-hmm. Zadorov's certainly another one. Kastelich is another one. Like they've got some guys that are, you don't want to end up in the corner alone, digging out a puck and then, get caught with your head down, any of that kind of stuff. They certainly have that, but Buffalo doesn't. But Buffalo's got guys that will take a look at and keep on ticking and find ways to get payback when it's time. And I think that's kind of where the frustration comes in for Boston is that, they are laying hits. They are being physical. I mean, McAvoy spent the first, 2 games of the series here in Buffalo hunting Peyton Krebs and trying to ruin his day. And, didn't really work. Krebs just rolls off of that. He's like, all right, man, cool. Like, that's how I want to play. Great. But Boston just, they're kind of waiting. I don't know if they're waiting for Buffalo guys to wilt or to kind of bail out on plays and give them puck, but that stuff isn't happening. And instead, Buffalo just keeps coming back over and over and over again. And Boston's kind of gotten into that spot now where they're like, geez, these guys don't stop. This is getting annoying. And it showed through, the midway point of game 3 and then the entirety of game 4 was just like, oh my God, these guys don't quit. And it's really throwing us off.
Yeah, not only do they not stop, Joe, it seems like as the series has gone on, I mean, this is just, obvious and reactionary because of how yesterday went, but maybe, the coaches and the game plans and the Sabres have gotten in and they found like, this is the thing that's going to work for us. Let's concentrate on that. And maybe the Bruins just don't have a pivot now.
Yeah, and I think there's part of that with the way the Bruins pressure up the ice because something they were able to really do in game 1 and more so in game 2 was a lot of home run flips out of the zone and oops, we caught somebody napping and they've got they got a guy in behind. Whereas game 1 there were odd man chances and they had rushes like that and I was just kind of, well, where's this coming from? And I think the Sabres have figured out like how to counter that or how to diffuse the way that they attack on the forecheck or how they're setting up in the neutral zone by doing something different. And I think that's kind of where the medicine has come in. And because they figured that out, Boston's kind of like, wait, we didn't have a plan B here. And that's where you're seeing the waves coming and they're pushing, their own pressure is getting a little bit more up the ice and like kind of hemming them into their own end. If they try to set up behind the net to get an escape, guys are right there. And in game 4, we saw them kind of get frustrated and lose their patience with trying to wait it out. And I was comparing this to tank era Sabres where, they would win a face-off in their own end and they're like, okay, our answer is to hammer this off the glass and try to get it out. And Sabres guys were just picking it off the wall, and oops, we're right back to it again. And, the cycle starts, the shots start coming, and, maybe you catch somebody out of position, which they did a couple of times. That kind of thing, I mean, I don't know if that's just a case of the Bruins not putting in the work or not wanting to do the work, but I think watching that back on tape is going to get Marco Sturm just like shaking his head, because, watching elite skilled defensemen just saying like, no, forget it. Let me just bang it off the glass and out, instead of trying to find another way to get out of your own zone is the kind of thing that is going to make every coach crazy.
Yeah. Joe, I'm really glad we've this conversation is wound to this juncture here. Joe Yurden, by the way, Bleacher Report covering this series and the NHL on the Western Hotline, because the first two games, I know before Game 3, we talked, I don't want to say a lot, but it certainly was something I wanted to mention more than once, was like a lot of Boston's offense was just, you're talking about off the glass, this we're going to trip the wire. It was just sort of like passes out of their zone that turned into odd man rushes and breakaways. And I wondered, like, tactically, what do the Sabres need to do to take that away? Maybe they've found a way to take that away, and the Bruins just don't have another thing. And that's a pretty flimsy game plan to begin with. I mean, if it works, great. And it did. It got them an inordinate number of breakaways in the first two games of the series played in Buffalo. I thought breaks and odd man rushes, but those kind of dried up in games 3 and 4. And I wonder what the Sabres did to their structure maybe to take that away.
Yeah, it's something that I think people who are a little bit better with tape and a little bit wiser about the game are probably a lot better at figuring out than myself. I don't want to speak for you, but
I'm with you. I would need to talk to my kid. Maybe he could.
Okay, well, I'll bend Owen's ear tomorrow then about it. But I mean, I watch. I think of the last regular season game against Boston, where it seemed like David Pastrnak was just getting behind everybody constantly, and I think it was Pastrnak reading how Buffalo would send a defenseman in on the attack, and then you've got one guy definitely minding the shop in the defensively, and then you were relying on a forward to kind of circle back to make sure you got two guys back. And Pastrnak would end up seeing that and be like, okay, let me just scoot out to the neutral zone if I see our guys near the puck, because if they bang it out and gone, I've either got a breakaway or a one-on-one, and Pasternak's got a really good chance of scoring that, one way or the other, or getting help on the way down the ice, and you've got an odd man situation. Boston, I know it. I mean, Grant, you're down 4-0, so you're trying everything you can. They were trying to do that with their other lines. It wasn't just Pastrnak doing it. You're seeing other guys, and Arvidsson goes out of the game, so that you lose another offensive minded forward there. But you're looking at them trying to see maybe some of these other lines aren't paying attention to this. And no, that was not the case. The Sabres are like, no, they're going to try to do this stuff, and we're on top of it. Now, I don't know if that means, staggering out how your defense minds things, your forward coverage, if the defense jumps into the play, whatever. We're getting way into the weeds on the ultra, scientific stuff of this for systems, but it is something where that stuff was there for Boston a lot in the first two games, and it has been it disappeared basically after Arvidsson's penalty shot in Game 3, where it just stopped happening completely. Either Boston stopped trying to do it, or Buffalo's completely cut that possibility out for them to attack that way.
So, Joe, you were in the building for this game yesterday, obviously. Did you happen to notice I had one Bruin? I wasn't sure actually, and I don't remember, and I'm not being able to find it now, whether it was a fan account or a media account that was asserting that Swayman pulled himself out of this game yesterday afternoon. That because it wasn't right after the sixth goal. The times don't line up. The sixth goal happens, and then there's another like 30 seconds of game, I think, and then a TV timeout. And we come back from the TV timeout. There is Korpisalo in the net, and this account was saying that Swayman just skated over the bench during the TV timeout and talked to Korpisalo, who then started putting his gear on. So, like, I don't know if that is – I don't know if Sturm has been asked about that. I've not seen that he was. And maybe this is just some whack job fan account and I'm getting had. I don't know. But either way, we all saw him jawing at his bench on his way out, which, justified, sure. But to hear him then this morning talking about we win and lose as a team is pretty rich. He's yelling at them on the way out. Again, justified, but still have a hard time listening to we win and lose as a team after you're yelling at everybody as you're leaving the game, maybe by your own choice. I don't know. Did you witness any of that?
I was, after they didn't pull him after 4-0, and after Byram scores that goal, now granted, Swayman completely lost track of where the puck was on that goal, because the puck got swung, the Sabres won the faceoff, they swing it around on the outside, and I don't know how Swayman didn't see it get over to Byram, as, I don't think they did it at light speed, but by the time it was over on Byram and on his stick, Swayman looked over and was like, uh-oh. And then, he tries to do a Superman dive to try to stop it.
He got his left pad caught on his defenseman's skate is what happened there. I think he was down, but it was a bad read. He was down in a butterfly waiting for a shot as that pass was going. I don't know that he didn't see it, but when he tried to slide over, his left pad got caught and he got sort of stuck there, and that's how he ended up diving for it. Because that net was open for Byram for, it felt like, an hour.
Yeah, it really was, because I watch it on Byram's stick. I'm like, all right, man, shoot it. And because I'm looking at open net from my seat, I'm like, okay, anytime now.
Right.
But I don't. Maybe he saw it on power stick and thought, like, okay, he's probably just got to throw it in here because this guy's parked in front of the net, get a tip, whatever. But after that goal, he kind of like stood there and was looking towards the Bruins bench. And I don't know if he was maybe barking at his defenseman in that case, or to his, just barking at them like, hey, let's pick it up here. Like, I'm getting embarrassed out here.
Right.
But he was looking to them like to say like, well, anytime you want to get the hook out, I'm good with that. Like, cause this is stupid. And they played a really good second period. So you're thinking like, all right. And that second period, I'm thinking, if Boston gets the next goal, this game gets really tight really quick. Even at 4-1, 4-0, you're saying, oh, next goal wins. But yeah, it was like that. But then, bang, bang, you get two in a row in the third. And I had in my mind, if I'm Swayman, I'm like, all right, that's enough. Like those two goals back to back, the way they were scored, you're just like, okay, you guys are just not doing your job out here today. That's enough. And then, but I did not see him signal towards the bench to say like, all right, that's enough. All I know is that I looked up at one moment, he was in the net. I looked over when play restarted from the timeout and I see 70 in the net. I'm like, oh, well, all right, that's that.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, I'm, 500 feet away. So I anything that was going on at that end of the ice, I kind of out of my eyes.
Well, I wonder what happened there if he did. I have a feeling if he actually had just decided he was taking himself out, we'd have heard and read more about it by now. So I might have got by some, Bruin whack job account. Joe Yerdon, Bleacher Report, covering the Sabres and Bruin series in the NHL, with us here on the West Her Hotline. So from here, do you think the Bruins have like the desperation, nothing to lose effort in them? Or I don't know, man, they looked pretty cooked to me by the time this game was over.
It's easy to get fooled by a blowout, I think. I think of the way multiple times this season where the Bruins would lose a handful of games in a row and look like one of the worst teams in hockey doing it. And you're like, well, that's it for these guys. We'll see you later. Only to watch them rattle off, 5, 6, 7 wins in a row. And you're like, oh, right, these guys can be nasty. Got it. I listened to what Lindy Ruff says today about, teams being in that spot and being desperate. And he mentioned, it's a team that's they get down during the year and then they just come right back at you, and they can be, they can be a very difficult team to get a grip on. And I look at how nasty and mean they can play, and I think of them as like a cornered animal that's injured, and that's the most dangerous. You're trying to get a handle on them, and it's like, all right, buddy, let's go home now. and they're not going to go home without taking a chunk out of you before they do it. I look at the Bruins as being like that style of team where they've had the kind of hardships the Sabres have had, granted, not with the kind of history, but they've faced up to that sort of thing throughout the season and have found ways to bounce back from it. So I've said it about them when people are ready to say like the Bruins, run of being a continual playoff team is dead and everybody's ready to celebrate, only to see them come right back and then they're in the playoff. They're not dead until you double tap them.
Right.
You got to double tap them. Make sure they're out cold and gone before you start celebrating their departure, because they will come back and get you every single time.
Okay, noted. So we learned today that a couple of players who left the game early, and I think Lindy said after the game yesterday that Zucker and Kozak both could have returned. So I guess we expect that they're probable, I guess is how Lindy said it. And he also said that Norris is possible tomorrow, that he's feeling much better. What do I want to do there? Because I might have to fight somebody if they want to take Oslin off that line with Doan and Benson.
Trying to parse playoff injury speak from a coach is fun.
Fun's a word, sure.
Yes. I mean, he says that about Kozak and Zucker yesterday, and I missed what happened with Zucker, but Kozak, I watched what happened with him pretty clearly.
That looked nasty, yeah.
Yeah, he got wiped out after taking a shot and then went sliding, back first into the boards, and I watched him kind of skate gimpy to the bench, and he looked at by the trainers, and he was kind of eyeing his side and his back, on the bench before he went to the room. But that's uncomfortable, no doubt. But I trying to parse between that and figure out, like, I hear probable for both guys, and then it's like, well, maybe Morris will play too, and it's like, wait a second, okay. I'm thinking one of the two guys that left Game 4 early might not be able to go, and then maybe Norris slides in that spot, and then you kind of juggle the lineup somehow that way.
Yeah.
And can I kind of finagle things around? There's a few different combinations I've got in my head of how that might work. I don't know that we're going to get it solved with a morning skate tomorrow.
Probably not. Yeah.
Probably not, but it would be kind of cool if we did. But yeah, playoffs. Yeah, insert new mystery with the lineup.
Yeah, it'd be really great if they just put Norris in between Malenstein and Greenway at the morning skate. Like, I guess that's where Norris is going in, which it's an odd fit. But I think it's called for. Like, I don't. Do you agree? I don't want to move Oslin out of that line. I think Norris probably played the second two periods of Game 2 with this injury that I suspect is a head injury. So I mean that mitigates his lack of production and his performance being down to some extent. But Oslin with Benson and Doan has been electric city, man.
Yeah, I mean, when those three were together earlier this season, it was a lot of fun. And seeing them back together in the postseason has been, again, super fun, because Oslin there's a different kind of offensive creativity that he's got where it's a little bit more unpredictable. I think, not to say that Norris's game is predictable, it's not, but I think Oslin likes to do kind of funkier stuff with the puck and the way he thinks the game, and he'll see a pass that he's just kind of like, let's see if this works, and then it's on the tape and it's a grade A. And whereas Norris can really shoot it and really hammer it, which works with if with Benson and Doan. If you're throwing it at the net, those guys can clean up the mess. It's a nice problem to have. It's a total first world problem for Lindy to deal with if these guys are all good to go. But it's really hard to break that lineup considering how they've played with them together.
Yeah.
And I think Lindy's enough of, I don't think it's superstition, but it's like, okay, this is working, we're going to stick with this. And I think that's probably where the strategy might come in there. If everybody's good to go, I think he might stick with that. And then, maybe you got Norris between Greenway and Malenstein. That's a nice problem to have, because Norris is pretty good defensively. I mean, it's not, he doesn't get a lot of the credit, but he's really good at it. And if he can kind of give Greenway and Malmstein a little bit of a spark while helping out defensively, that's not bad.
Yes, I agree. And like Lions net until further notice, right? That's where we're at.
Yeah, I think it's the ride until he bucks you, or maybe shows some cracks, and you say, all right, we'll go get back in there. We'll do it. People get this is such a different goalie setup than like any other team does it, where you switch a goalie in the playoffs, it's like, oh boy, they're toast, they're scrambling. These guys have done it all season long, and it's not a pressure point. It's not a controversy point. It's just kind of like, oh well, it's his turn now. Okay, off we go. It just works, and yeah, I'm sure it's a big adjustment for all of us that are used to, okay, one goalie gets you here, one goalie's going to take you. And if you change horses midstream, you're toast. Like it's not how this works with this team. It hasn't all season.
Joe, thank you so much for your time. I'm glad you made it back from Boston, and look forward to visiting with you. I don't know, maybe in a few weeks when the Sabres are in the conference finals.
Wouldn't that be something, eh?
How's that settle on everybody? All right. Seriously, Joe, thanks, man. Really appreciate the time.
Yeah, you got it, Bulldog. Thanks.
That is Joe Yerdon, Bleacher Report, covering the Sabres and Bruins series and the NHL at large for many years now, and nice to touch base with Joe. What do you think, man? Is this team done? The Bruins toast? You heard Joe lay it out there, like expects them to be, the Walking Dead, basically. Like make sure you put the extra bullet in them. We'll see. Open to talking some more hockey here for the next half an hour or so. 803-0550 is the number. You got anything on the experience of watching yesterday's game, wherever you were, out in a bar, just home with friends or wherever. Love to hear from you on that, on the series, anything from it that's gone on here. Line combinations. You heard us talking about Norris here. Is he healthy? Does he have to go back in? I mean, he's their highest paid forward. Wow. It's just like, we don't need you. That would really be amazing. But Oslin has taken that spot, and I cannot see a scenario where they break that up right now. That line, anyway. That doesn't mean Norris won't find his way in some other way, but I'm not sure where that is. Krebs is their leading scorer. You're not moving him off of that line to go center Greenway and Malmstein, I don't think. So I don't know really where you put him. 803-0550 again is the number. Mike is out sick today, along with Zach Jones. I'm the Bulldog, and you're listening to WGR.
The Buffalo Sabres take the first two games in Boston, game 3 and 4, and now they come back home up 3-1 in the series with the Bruins. Game 5 is tomorrow night in Buffalo. Puck drop just after 7:30, and we'll get the latest on the Sabres. Paul Hamilton will join the show in just about a half hour at 6. We also did have some notes from this morning. Lindy Ruff telling the media Tyson Kozak and Jason Zucker are probable for tomorrow. Josh Norris is a possibility. While on the Bruins side of things, Nikita Zadorov, he does get fined $5,000, the maximum allowable fine under the current CBA for his cross-check yesterday on Sabres captain Rasmus Dahlin. In the league, though, tonight we do have two games. The Penguins host the Flyers just after 7 o'clock. Philly will advance with a win tonight, and then at 9:30, Vegas is at Utah. The Mammoth do hold a 2-1 series lead in that one. For the Bills, they had themselves a busy weekend. 10 total selections in this year's NFL draft. Sal Capaccio has a number of pieces up at our website, WGR550.com, not only on the draft, but also some of the UDFAs that were signed over the weekend. And then also on the website and the Odyssey app, Buffalo Bills general manager Brandon Beane. He joined our morning show earlier today to break down the draft that was. It's Paddock Chevrolet Sports Headlines. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Stolen away and cleared out to center ice to Pominville. Pominville into Ottawa territory. Pominville goes around Alfredson, cuts in front, scores! Jason Pominville, shorthanded. Oh, now do you believe? Now do you believe? These guys are good, scary good.
The legendary Rick Jenneret call of Jason Pominville's shorthanded series-winning overtime goal from the 2006 second round. Nice to hear that flashback. Sorry, I'm getting hung up. Just wow, just wonderful to hear that. Wonderful to hear that. But let's hope for a moment like that tomorrow night. I mean, I don't need overtime. We haven't had one yet. What is that going to be like? Can I just tell you, like, we were in Montana last weekend. So game one, scheduled this trip back in November. The Sabres were in last place, like whatever. Anyway, so I got this trip booked. So we're in Montana, and Sunday is our last full day there. We're flying back Monday, like, noon or something. And so Monday's pretty much truncated. We got to drive back to the airport, turn in the car, yada, yada. You've traveled, Okay. So Sunday, I knew it was coming. I knew when the game was. Game's at 5:30 Montana time, right? And it was a great trip, but it was only, we got there Thursday afternoon, Friday all day, Saturday all day, Sunday all day, Monday we fly home. And predictably, Sunday, we had dinner. My wife and I had dinner with Jeremy White and his wife Saturday night, and I hadn't said it this plainly in front of my wife, but what I told them, hey, how was your trip? How did everything go? Blah, 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 blah. Like, yeah, we did this and this and this and this, and it was really great and really great and really great. And then I ruined Sunday, is what I said. I didn't ruin it, but I was really. It's a Sabre playoff game day. The first Sabre playoff game in 15 years. I was pretty wound up. Weren't you all wound up? What was Sunday morning and afternoon like for you? And even in early evening, because 7:30 here, you had longer to kill. I mean, I guess more time. I had all planned. Let's go. To this part of the, let's go over here. We drove by this. It looked interesting. Maybe we should spend a little town near the Yellowstone Park. And we went. It was, Sunday, like 11 in the morning. And it turns out there wasn't that much there. And what was there wasn't open. And it's like, oh, thud. It's like noon. And I could not bring myself to do another thing. Like, well, why don't we drive to this town that's like 45 minutes? Like, no, I don't think let's stop and get lunch as the 1 o'clock hockey game is starting. 1 o'clock their time. The Kings and Avalanche, I think, were the first game that day. And, that just, that lunch is beers. And I pretty much from that, like that, the tap was flowing, and like that was it for my day. Like there was just no chance I was going to look for a moose.
No, sometimes you got to know when to call it.
At 2 o'clock in the afternoon when the hockey game was starting. And it's starting in 3.5 hours. I can't do anything else now other than sit here and stare at this pint of beer that's on the bar. That's what I've got in me now. I'm an empty set. You're not getting anything from me. That's it. It's over. And like, it was kind of a bummer. I mean, we were in a part of the country we'd never been before. We'd had a great trip. I don't think this ruined it, but my wife was like, I'm not just sitting in a bar with you all day. And I'm like, okay, what are you going to do?
Yeah, right. Like, I know what I'm doing.
Because this is really all I'm capable of right now. I'm not a complicated person. This is pretty straightforward. I am hyper-focused on this game that doesn't begin for another 3.5 hours, and I can't go look at mountains anymore. I couldn't do it. So that was, that time to kill is
it's not real.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's not real.
It's tough.
I've gotten there a few times. Yesterday wasn't that, but the build up to game 2 actually kind of felt like that.
2 o'clock is pretty good.
Yeah, it was kind of nice. These night games have been sort of a punishment. You get all day to build up to it. If you're not the first game, it's even worse.
And I was on vacation,
which like by the end of it, you're more stressed than you are at home.
Yeah,
that's not good. That's not good.
Like, am I sure the bar is going to have the game? Like,
right.
I really wasn't that worried about that. I was just a psycho. I could not do anything else, even though there was ample time to do anything else. We could have driven to Idaho, probably. No, that's pretty far.
That one's a little far.
But anyway, I mean, we had time. I could have done many more things, or at least one more thing. But no, it's bar time. And that was unfortunate. So I marred the end of it. It was fine. My wife was perfectly happy to be by herself and look at mountains. It was totally fine. I don't think she'll be holding it against me. There's always a chance, though. 803-0550 is the number. Tom is next up. Hi, Tom. Thank you for calling. You're on WGR.
Hey, guys. So I spent a little bit of time today listening to some sports radio coming out of New England, and some interesting opinions. And not to say that the Bruins didn't make their fair share of mistakes yesterday, but very few comments coming out of them about how well the Sabres played. They're kind of just focusing on how they did it to themselves, and I don't think a team does it to themselves like that if they don't feel Buffalo breathing down their neck, forechecking like crazy.
Right.
I think that's a franchise or a fan base that's kind of unwilling to see the big picture. They're not bigger, better, stronger, faster. And I'm proud of the Sabres. So this was a cool thing, and a little bit of Schadenfreude listening in.
All right, Tom, good. I'm glad you called with that. That's the gig. I mean, the Sabres are getting their asses kicked in this series. We're not. There's probably give the Bruins some credit. No, we're ripping apart the power play, and we're trying to figure out why the goalie let in a 100-footer, and it's going to be focused on sports radio in the city hosting the games, and just got caved in 6-1 is not going to bring Buffalo flowers. I mean, you're looking in the wrong place. This has always been. I'm not mad at you about it. I'm just saying, like, we'd be doing the same thing here. We would not be saying, well, boy, Pasternak is really good. Well, tough one. I mean, this is not how the machine works. I've always been intrigued by this, and I imagine teams that the Bills or Sabres beat do it too, maybe, and like drop in and check out what we're doing. It's not a new thing. You've heard about it for years, and especially now with the way the world has shrunk. I mean, you can listen to. I could probably find a Manchester United post-game show somewhere and listen to it on my phone if I wanted to. It'd be weird because I'm working and, whatever. But, they just had a game today. You can listen to anything. I've never been one who goes, oh, I want to go hear how mad the team's fans that my team just beat are. Maybe it's because I'm in here and I'd be self-conscious about it. Like I just said, like, I don't know if Boston fans are doing that to us. Maybe when you won game 2, maybe they were, and maybe they thought we sounded like bozos. I don't know. So maybe I'm being self-conscious about it, but I just don't ever feel like I really need that. Like I don't need to hear some guy from Boston really mad about this. I don't know. Like. It's the gig, so I don't know. It just doesn't really. It's not that interesting to me. I'm not insulting. I don't mean to be. I hope I'm not like insulting your choices or what you're doing with your time. I just don't. It's just not something I want to do with my time. So, but if you're looking for objectivity out of a show like this one or those that are like this one in Boston, you're probably not going to get it. So, not that you were mad about it or upset about it. It was just an observation, and you shared it, and I've told you what I thought, which is it's not surprising, and I guess in the end, I'd say I don't really care that much what's going on with the Boston media. I was really curious about this Swayman thing, and Joe Yerdon said he didn't pay attention to that sequence. But again, the Swayman thing is, I'll just squeeze it in real quick because I got to get to a break here. It's been speculated that he removed himself from the game, that he wasn't pulled by his coach, that the 6th goal went in. There was another, 30, 20 seconds of play after 6-0. And then there's a TV timeout, and he came to the bench, and it was told to me by someone who was watching it that he talked to Korpisalo, and then Korpisalo started getting his gear on, and that was it. And then Swayman yelled at some players and went down the hallway. And I don't know. I mean, I think that'd be a bigger story, like that he said that's enough. I don't know. Maybe nobody noticed it. Maybe it's wrong. But I'd love to know. It's just a tasty little tidbit. If guys from that's I'm good. That's enough. If there's coaches talking about how he's battling and all this stuff, he left him in because he battles. Maybe he left. You think of that? Anyway, 803-0550 is the number. Paul Hamilton at the top of the hour. We'll see if Paul noticed anything there. I doubt that he did. I think he would have written it if he had about that, the timing of the Swayman leaving the game. But Paul's coming up at the top of the hour. Still time for your calls right after this. Mike is out sick today along with Zach Jones. I am the Bulldog, and you're listening to WGR. If anyone in the bullpen had on their bingo card that today, a day where radio's the Bulldog, that's me, hi, was going to be working by himself because Mike was out sick or on vacation, turns out he's sick. If you had on your bingo card, at one of the top of the hour segments, he'll say he's an idiot and doesn't know how to tell time and has to take a break really early after just starting a new segment. If you had that, you win because that segment is now. I didn't. Well, I don't need to bore you with details. Anyway, I don't have any time other than to just say this. I'm a moron. So sorry. I went long last segment, and now I don't have time to talk to you. So I got to stop, and we'll be back with Paul after this.
It's a 3-1 series lead for the Buffalo Sabres as they take both games 3 and 4 on the road in Boston. And now game 5 is tomorrow night in Buffalo. Puck drop just after 7:30. And stay tuned. We'll get the latest on the Sabres. Paul Hamilton joining the show next. Around the rest of the NHL, though, it is just 2 games tonight. The Penguins do host the Flyers. That game just after 7 o'clock. In Philadelphia, they are the team that can advance with a win tonight. While at 9:30, Vegas is at Utah. The Mammoth hold a 2-1 series lead in that one. For the Bills, they had themselves a busy weekend. 10 total selections in this year's NFL draft. Sal Capaccio does have more on the draft and the UDFAs that were signed afterwards, with a number of pieces up at our website, WGR550.com. Also at the website and on the Odyssey app, Bills General Manager Brandon Beane joined our morning show today to break down the draft that was. And then in college football, Texas Tech quarterback Brendan Sorsby is checking into a residential treatment program for a gambling addiction. Sorsby is under investigation by the NCAA after it was discovered that Sorsby made thousands of bets on a gambling app. It's your Paddock Chevrolet Sports Update. Paddock Chevrolet with you for the extra mile since 1935. I'm Zach Jones for Western New York's Voice of the Fan, WGR.
Nothing against our Sal Capaccio nor Joe Yurden, who are with us, but when you've got 3 bands on a bill, you save the best for last, is what you do, which is what we did today. With Paul Hamilton joining me now on the West Her Hotline. Howdy, Paul. How's your day? We're on the phone. What happened? The new gear doesn't work either?
Yeah. We're going to figure it out. I know we are.
Really? All right. Well,
I got by in Boston. Okay, I figured it out as best we could. So we especially game days, we did pretty good with it.
Yeah, I didn't notice any glitches, so all good. But happy to talk to you anyway that we can here. So I don't know, where do you want to start here? There is nothing surprising about the fact that Zadorov did not get suspended for that cross-check on Dahlin, right?
No, not at all, because this is the National Hockey League. He should have been suspended. I mean, there was an obvious intent to injure. That's all that was. I mean, he comes over, the play is over, it's after the whistle, well after the whistle, and he breaks his stick over Dahlin's arm. And that you are trying to hurt that player when you're doing that. There's no other way to figure that out.
Right.
That is what you're doing. You have decided that, and, we all know Rasmus Dahlin likes to get under a player's skin. So he's probably yakking at Zadorov. Zadorov can't handle it because he's dumb. And he goes off and does that. So, yes, in normal leagues, when you're trying to get rid of those types of things and get fans, you suspend players who do things like that. Mm-hmm. In this league, I guess you just say, boys will be boys.
Well, good. I think it would be different, right? This is the NHL. If Dahlin had a broken arm, we'd be really outraged and we'd be missing the captain and one of their very best players for the foreseeable future here, probably the rest of the playoffs. But then I think the intent to injure, having been successful, probably would have resulted in a suspension. Do you think?
Yes, but in my opinion, it shouldn't.
No, I totally agree. Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's the intent that should matter.
I would think, if he broke his arm, then, they might suspend him for like the first period of a game. No, I'm kidding. But, for a game or whatever. And it's just, you can't have a guy like George Peros doing this and expect it, because George Peros thinks this is good stuff. And, I lost his head. No big deal. Because George Peros likely has done something like that before in his career. So a lot of things that should be suspended aren't.
Well, in the end, Paul, Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I hope there's no confusion there. I think the intent should be the thing, and when intent isn't in doubt, right? We hear it all the time on like the hits that are to the head. Like, well, did the player, the offending player, the hitting player, did he mean to do this? Was there intent there? And that can get pretty gray when you're talking about an open ice collision and a guy moved at the last minute, whatever. There's no confusion about what the intent was. Therefore, the results shouldn't matter. He tried to injure someone, was unsuccessful, but still tried to do it, so you should be suspended. The bottom line to me, though, is, Paul, I started early today with this. I've only mentioned it the one time very early in the show. I think we want him to play. I hope he doesn't hurt anyone, but I think he's mostly pretty terrible at the hockey. So when Zadorov's on the ice, I feel like that's good for me.
A lot of times during the season, he was pretty good at the hockey, but not in these playoffs. I mean, Charlie McAvoy looks like he's never played the game, and he's considered an elite defenseman.
Yeah.
I mean, that goal that, right before, it almost was a power play, 2 seconds from being a power play goal,
yeah.
where Doan just gets in there at the crease area and just turns around, and McAvoy looks like he looks like a minor league player. It's like, what are you doing? Allowing him just to turn around and get set up so McLeod can just basically bank it off his stick. I mean, I just don't get it. And Zadorov, as I said, normally he is a pretty good defenseman, but he wears out his welcome because he's dumb. And he took dumb penalties in Buffalo, gone. Took dumb penalties in Colorado, gone. And it wouldn't surprise me if the Bruins are tired of it because, he's probably taken a stupid penalty in all 4 games.
Which is, again, I want him on the ice. I know the power play is a punchline, but I'm not one who says decline the penalty. I want the power play to work. The more chances you get, eventually the dam is gonna break, and you're gonna get yourself a goal with the man advantage. They were oh so close yesterday. I'm sorry, Lindy, I cannot give it to you. You still have a goose egg there because it's not a power play goal, and I know the player wasn't in the play, but whatever. So if they're feeling good about themselves, good, but they still got the 0 there. So they got to rectify that. What kind of shape do you think the Bruins will be in coming here, Paul? Is it a deal where maybe the most likely thing is they come out breathing fire, but if the Sabres can smack them early with a goal or two, that maybe they'll just fold it up and go home?
Yeah, I mean, Lindy Ruff was talking today about, well, maybe they'll bring 4 up in the rush, and it's like – they know they can't win that game. They're not bringing. There's no way they're going to try to gun with the Sabres. They can't do that. They don't have the personnel to do that. The only way they can win is if they play the way they did in Game 2, where they got in on the Sabres and forced the Sabres into turnovers and wore down their defense, and the Sabres weren't moving their feet. They weren't getting into the areas they needed to get in to get good dump-ins, and then use your speed to get in there, win the battle, and also defensively, they weren't in good position either. So that really is the only way the Bruins can win. They can't win if they start leaning towards the Sabre style because, well, we only scored 2 goals. It's like, well, yeah, you've only scored 2 goals, but you want to run and gun. You're going to be in deep trouble.
Yeah, Paul Hamilton on the West Her Hotline with us here on WGR. Sabres and Bruins will play Game 5 tomorrow night at KeyBank Center, downtown Buffalo, 7:40 face-off or thereabouts. Sabres are up 3-1 in the series. I got to try my Swayman question on you, Paul. Did you happen to notice what took place when he left the game? Because it wasn't right after the 6-0 goal. It was after a TV timeout that followed that by a few seconds, I think 20, 30, whatever. And I wonder if he just skated over to the bench during that TV timeout and told Korpisalo, get your stuff on, I'm done.
No, he told his teammates what he thought of them.
Well, I saw that too. Yeah.
Is what he did. He came over, and then they decided they were going to change goaltenders, maybe because he went after his teammates and thought, well, he's probably not in the right mindset right now to be in the net. But I was looking at him that specifically to see if he would go after his teammates when he went over there. I wasn't necessarily thinking, well, they didn't pull him after the goal, so they probably aren't pulling him.
Right.
But I wanted to see if he was going to rip into his teammates during the TV timeout. And that's when they put Korpisalo in. I could see him get up and start putting his mask on and stuff. But I think if I were to guess, I think it's because he went after his teammates. And it's like,
right.
Well, if he's in that frame of mind right now, he's probably not in the frame of mind to play goal.
Well, right. So that, for all intents and purposes, that's the same thing. He pulled himself by acting that way. I mean, not that he would have to be pulled from the game in that circumstance. How much of a beef did he have? He had a pretty considerable beef, right? I mean, that team was DOA yesterday.
Oh, yeah, sure he did. I mean, the Sabres were – I mean, you can go to almost every goal and say, yep, there's a Bruin turnover, goal. Yep, there's a Bruin turnover, goal. I mean, the Bruins were just – every time the Sabres were on them, they panicked. They played panic hockey, and they would flip it. And I can't tell you how many times Dahlin, either at the blue line or the red line, just knocked the puck down and turned and went the other way. You know, the guys got – if it was at the red line, the guys got out of the zone. He'd get the puck up ice, perfect pass, turn and go, and they were back right at it again. I mean, the Bruins couldn't even get a change. So it was, and that happened from the opening faceoff that they were panicking. I mean, there were a lot of turnovers right away as that line got in there, really got in hard, and the Bruins defense didn't know what to do with it. So it was like, well, we got to get rid of the puck. We can't be sitting here with it.
So what do you want to do with the lineup if Josh Norris is healthy, Paul? Does he get a spot, or am I just going to roll here? I mean, it's weird. He's their highest paid forward. I know he didn't play well in either of the games he was in. I think whatever this injury has been might have been responsible for some of that in game 2. But I can't see Lindy breaking up Ostlund, Benson, and Doan. Can you?
Yeah, no, I can't see it, and maybe it'll be a situation where he has to wait his turn. You know, and it seems like Kozak and is okay.
Zucker, too, yeah.
Zucker is okay. I mean, Lindy said it yesterday. He said, look, they were cleared to come back, but I thought, why do it with the score like this? Just let him stay in the room, and, you know, and Zucker was there. He's the one that put the winning puck on the board, so he was sitting there.
Yeah.
So it seemed like, yes, they could have played, but it was 6-0. Why? Why even put him back on the ice? So they both seem like they're okay. I mean, I'm not going to dress Norris to play center for Malenstein and Greenway. I don't think.
Right, me either. I don't. I mean, I could. He is a good defensive player, but yeah, it's a weird fit, I think.
Yeah, and I'm not going to. I mean, Ostlund's, let's face it, if we're all being honest, Ostlund's been an upgrade.
Yes, I regret so much on Thursday saying they're not going to make themselves better exchanging Ostlund for Norris, because that is exactly what has happened here.
Yeah. So how do you pull him off of there when he's made the team better? So, you know, even if Norris has been struggling with an injury in all 3 games that he played in, which we don't know, still, I just think, you know, Zucker had to wait, like 6 games or 5 games?
Yeah, that's right.
And he wasn't real happy about it, but it was right in the middle of the 10-game winning streak.
Yeah.
So he had to wait his turn to get back in. So, again, if you're Lindy Ruff, why would you want to change what's happened in the last 2 games?
And, you know, the default setting for a lot of the year, even when they got hot, and I would admit even as the playoffs were approaching, my default setting was, I'm going to get Krebs off of that top line and put Benson on there, right? And if Ostlund comes back, then maybe he plays with Norris and Doan, and Krebs is going to be with Malenstein and Greenway or whomever, you know, makes up the 4th line. And that got tipped on its head. I mean, Krebs has been excellent. Krebs. Like, I can't move him anymore. It was an easy thing to consider doing, I'd say, a month ago or even 2 weeks ago, and now I think it would be insane.
He's been contributing just as much as the other 2 have. I mean, he's first in on the forecheck and gets it going. Then the 3 of them get a rotation forecheck going, and I mean they score goals off of it. and he's a part of it, either scoring them or helping assist them, and he just seems to fit those two very, very well. And I think he just needed a shot of confidence. I think he lost his offensive confidence, playing the roles he's been playing. Yep. I mean, he was always considered a gifted passer when the Golden Knights took him in the first round of the draft. But in the roles he's been playing, he really hasn't been doing that. And I think he needed to gain his offensive confidence back. It's obvious that he has it. There was a while there where it was when they weren't playing all that well, and Lindy would start Krebs there, and then by midway through the game, Benson would be there, and it was almost every game he'd flip-flop the two of them. And now it's just like, no, right now this is Krebs' position to play because he's played it very well.
Paul Hamilton's on the Western Hotline with us for just a few more minutes here. Day in between games here. Game 4, a big win for Buffalo yesterday afternoon in Boston. Game 5, and a chance to close this thing out on home ice awaits the Sabres tomorrow evening, 7:40 puck drop. Paul, how much do you feel like pressure shifts to the Sabres just a bit by being home with an opportunity to close this out? Do you think they'll feel some nerves tomorrow?
Well, they didn't play well in a lot. In some of game 1 they played well, and some of game 1 they didn't. But that was the first playoff game for many of the Sabres. They didn't play well in game 2 almost at all. Maybe a few times, but not. When they scored 2 goals near the end, I suppose. And then you go on the road and you absolutely just dominate. As I mentioned before, when we started, they outscored the Bruins 9-2 against a team that in the regular season was the second best team in the NHL at home. Now, we all know the Sabres also were very, very good on the road, but somebody could have talked to the end to say, well, I think the Sabres could win 2 games, and I wouldn't have laughed at that or anything. I don't think I would have predicted that, but I would have thought, well, that's possible, yes. But I never would have dreamed they'd only give up 2 goals in 2 games.
Right, and so there's no goaltending conversation, correct?
No, I don't think so. I think Lindy was leaning towards alternating goaltenders, but once Lyon played the way he did in the game he played in, you could not pull him out.
And did he have to do much yesterday? It just seemed like there was no danger at all in this game. I might be, misremembering, but it just felt like a pretty easy day.
Once or twice, I think the Bruins put a little heat on them. If I'm not mistaken, the Sabres got guys caught both times, and then the Bruins, and it seemed like, and those guys were the guys doing it.
Yeah, that's right.
They were the guys
and they got the goal, too, yeah.
Yeah, they were the guys I noticed.
It was a shorthanded goal. It was a shorthanded goal. I misspoke. Sorry, I made a mistake.
I stopped noticing Pasternak after 3 games. Geeky's had a few opportunities. Arvidsson, missed the penalty shot, and he went cold, and now he left the game. That's going to hurt them if he can't play. So, it's just like all of a sudden, a lot of the Bruins just went away, and you just really didn't notice them anymore.
Well, I'm really curious to see what they have, what the Bruins have for the Sabres tomorrow, because Paul, tactically, I thought in the second period, yes, the Bruins had a better second period. They outshot the Sabres 10-4, but there's a moment in the second period, I can't remember early, middle, late, where Byram has control of the puck, and he's in the Sabre zone. I know it's the second period because they were going from my left to right on TV, which is the second period. And he's like around the face-off dot, and he just sort of stands there with the puck. Maybe this rings a bell for you. Like, they were changing, so there was no rush. But the Bruins didn't send any forecheckers into the zone. They just stood in the neutral zone, playing like a team that was in a tie game or maybe even ahead. And Byram's just standing there, and I don't want to exaggerate. It wasn't like for a minute or anything, but, he just stopped and stood there. And the fans kind of started jeering a little bit, and I thought, and Rob even said on the MSG broadcast, Rob Ray said, something to the effect of they know they're down 4-0, right? Like, it was a very passive thing to do. And at that moment, I said, even though it's only 4-0 and one goal could change the whole thing, I just thought, this team is checked out. Like, what kind of tactic is that? Down 4 goals, middle of the second period at home, and you're just hanging out hoping to, like, clog up the neutral zone. I just thought it was pathetic.
Yeah, I thought the Bruins quit after a while. You know what I was thinking when I saw him do that? I said, is he going in the 4 corners?
Right.
You know, the old NBA trick or college basketball trick, go into the 4 corners. That's what came to mind when I was watching this. And he was perfectly willing to I'll let as much clock go off as you want to let me.
Yeah, I even said, I was watching with my friend John Gale and Owen, and I think my friend Harm was there. Anyway, I said, like, just kill the clock. It's just going to let you kill the clock. I just thought that was really weird. And I don't know if that was the players or if that, like, Sturm wanted them to still not take chances. I just thought it was weird, down 4-0 midway through a hockey game to be playing like that.
Yeah, I don't think Sturm was behind that. I think the players on the ice, for whatever reason, which I would have no idea why, decided that's the way they were going to play that particular play.
All right, Paul. Well, buckle up. A chance to see the Sabres clinch tomorrow. And our show is going to be at the arena tomorrow. Do you know this? Are you aware of this? We are doing our show on the 100 level in the atrium there. We'll be there doing it's the first time since before COVID.
I was made aware today. I was a little disappointed you're not going to do it from the bench. But
if they would let us, Paul.
That would be fun if you did it from the bench, but and I'm really curious. It's supposed to be warm tomorrow, isn't it?
Not like today. A little cooler, but hopefully
warmer than when they were playing home games in 39 degrees.
It's not supposed to snow. I've got for you that. Yeah, but there's.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how many are going to show up over at Canal Side. Because that was, considering how cold it was, that wasn't a bad crowd.
No, I agree. All right, Paul.
And with a good with good weather, I'm very curious to see how many are going to head over there.
Good deal. Thanks for this, Paul. I'll see you down there tomorrow.
Yep.
Paul's appearance with us here on WGR brought to you by Relax Honda. Relax, we got this. Going to segue back into some football conversation here. Sal Capaccio, his conversation from earlier with me, pouring over the details of the Bills draft. That is after this on WGR. Please say hi to Sal Capaccio. Good afternoon, Sal. How are you?